And we are live.
Good morning. Today is February 11th, 2021. It is 9:30, and I do hereby call to order the meeting of the Joint Boards of Directors of the San Joaquin Hills Transportation Corridor Agency and the Foothill Eastern Transportation Corridor Agency. The meeting is called to order, and I will ask for an invocation from Director Trevor O'Neill, followed by a Pledge of Allegiance by Director Doug Chafee.
Thank you. Director, will you all please bow your heads as we pray. Lord, we thank you for the freedom we have in our nation to gather together as elected representatives of the people to do their business and improve the quality of life for Orange County residents. Give us the unity and courage to stand by our values. Give us the strength to have meaningful and respectful discussions. Be with our residents who are suffering due to the pandemic, either through the loss of a loved one or their personal health, and be with those facing economic challenges. We pray for a brighter future in Orange County soon to come. In your name, we pray. Amen.
And the Pledge of Allegiance by Director Chafee.
Are you there, Director Chafee? If so, you may be on mute.
He's halfway through it already.
Is he there?
Do you want to lead?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to ask former Director Mike Munzing to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Wonderful. If you don't join me, I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Director Chafee, if you're here, I'm sorry, we were not able to hear you. So we hopefully you are with us. And I will now ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Honorable Directors. I'm Kaylee Doolittle, Interim Clerk of the Board, and I will now proceed with the roll call. Vice Chair Will O'Neill.
Yes, here.
Director Connors.
Here.
Director Hess.
Here.
Director Hurt.
Here.
Director James.
Here.
Director Minigar. Director Reynolds.
Yes, here.
Director Vixoric.
Here.
Director Beal.
Here.
Director Chafee. Director Wong.
Here.
Director Lombard.
Here.
Director Miller.
Here.
Director Murphy.
Here.
Director Trevor O'Neill.
Here.
Director Voice.
Here.
Director Ward.
Here.
Chair Kelly.
Here.
Alternate Goebel.
Here.
Director Khan.
Here.
Director Penaloza.
Here.
Director Taylor.
Here.
Director Wagner.
Here.
Director Chamberlain.
Here.
Looping back, Director Minigar.
Yeah, I'm here. I had some kind of technical difficulties.
Director Chafee. Madam Chair, noting the absence of Director Chafee, we have quorum on both boards.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. And now I will ask you, do we have any public comments this morning?
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I'd like to remind everyone during live public broadcasting, members of the public may address the joint boards of directors regarding any items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the joint boards of directors, but no action may be taken on off-agenda items unless authorized by law. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person and 20 minutes for all comments unless the chair, subject to the approval of the boards of directors, set different time limits. Madam Chair, at this time, we have received 6 public comments.
Okay, go ahead and please read them for us.
The first public comment is from Cindy Nicholson, and I will begin reading now. To whom it may concern, I am a member of the public, so not associated to any specific committee. I would like to request the board considers changing the policy on transponder auto activation. Specifically, I just learned that transponders that are requested by an account holder online are set to the requester already activated. Though this makes it convenient for the account holder should everything go well, it does not bode well for the account holder if the transponder 1 gets lost in the mail, 2 is mistakenly delivered to the wrong address and the recipient ends up being a nefarious individual, 3 gets stolen while en route. I learned the hard way by having a sticker transponder that I requested online end up in the wrong hands. The person who ended up with the transponder that I ordered was able to accumulate $41.47 in tolls before I realized that the transponder was missing. I do not think I was being negligent in any way. I was, I was awaiting receipt of the transponder, and when I thought it was taking longer than it should, I called the toll roads. During that call, I was encouraged to wait at least 2 weeks before ordering a new one. During that call, I was not advised to check my account to see if the transponder that was already accumulating charges. In fact, I was not notified that the transponder is not only automatically activated, but that is automatically added to my account and visibly in the transponder section online. Had I been advised of either, I would have checked to see if the transponder I was waiting for was already accumulating charges. In that way, I could have shut it down much sooner. As it stands, I am liable for the $41.47. I am just grateful it wasn't much more. Like a credit card, I think transponders should not be come activated. It should be up to the account holder to activate the transponder on receipt. If the policy is to remain that transponders requested online by account holders come pre-activated, there should be 1, a better way to track delivery sent via USPS priority mail or email text messages alerts as to when it has been sent, followed by another alert 7 to 14 days out remaining the account holder of the transponder status. 2, an email text message to recipient on first use of the new transponder to alert account holder to the fact that a new transponder is being used. 3, a notification, acknowledge, GUI that pops up when a transponder is ordered online confirming that the account holder acknowledges that the responder comes pre-activated, perhaps with a suggestion to mark their calendar to ensure receipt of same. Please respond to this email to acknowledge that my comments have been passed to the board. If there is a more formal process to request such a change, please let me know that as well. Cindy Nicholson, end of public comment 1. Second public comment is from Jay Doe, and I will begin reading now. To the TCA Board of Directors and everyone who is listening. I started following the TCA and toll roads years ago due to an issue that has been resolved. Everyone listening, take whatever Michelle Schumacher and the cronies in her cesspool say about TCA with a grain of salt. They are being advised by Harvey Englander's PR firm. Look him up and you'll learn about how he uses PR to take down big brands and organizations. The city of San Clemente just renewed another contract with him for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Look it up. His #1 job is to take down the TCA. Michelle Schumacher is his puppet. With the TCA Board of Directors, ever fact check, Public comments? Nearly everything Michelle Schumacher and her cronies say and write is PR spin. Just enough facts to barely qualify as factual. She always points out how much TCA spends on PR, but she and San Clemente are the ones with a PR firm now, and they are paying a pretty penny. On Facebook, Michelle Schumacher posts old news stories, old videos, old receipts, old everything. She purposely misleads people to believe her old lies are new truths. She also purposefully spreads lies and passes them off as fact. And the San Clemente reps on the TCA board just let it happen. They fan the flame, and Harvey Englander and Michelle Schumacher dance around it. Sincerely, Jay Doe, into public comment. Third public comment is from Denise Colber, and I'll begin reading now. Government is by the people and for the benefit of the people. Notice agenda item 16 is a discussion and not a board. This should be concerning to all of you. Historically, this is how the TCA gets out of their lane and has wasted millions or hundreds of millions of dollars, yet your necks are on the line for the poor performance. It was not too long ago that the OC grand jury and the LA Times was writing scathing reports about this agency, yet today you hear about how they want to fund projects outside the toll road or toll corridor. I can assure you agenda item 16 is not acceptable to taxpayers. My guess is the majority of you on this board vote against all bonds measures on the last ballot, yet the TCA is talking about now funding projects outside the toll system that is legislatively defined, even though they currently owe billions and 11 billion by the time the bonds are paid off. We will have paid for the toll roads 5 times over before the toll roads are paid off and free, as was the initial promise when this failed experiment started in the 1980s. By the TCA presenting this without a board discussion and vote will lead to them working diligently on things that are outside their scope. The TCA often discusses something, then moves ahead without a board approval. This is how they do it. The money recently saved with the bond refinancing should go to pay down the bonds. The past year's board direction has been to pay down the bonds. Keep in mind, we have the self-imposed Measure M tax to fund our local infrastructure funds until 2040. Not to mention the TCA's economically discrimination and mobility should not be for the rich. Taxpayers do not support the TCA being a funding mechanism for projects outside the already established toll system. We have paid enough in development fees, driving up the cost of housing and doing business in the county for some time. The toll roads are an underused asset in the south portion of the Orange County, and it is time the bonds are the only focus. We hope you will put an end to the desire for their self-preservation today and give them a mission of freeing our county of their debt burden and fulfilling on the agreement, which was to build the toll system already complete, pay down the bonds, and go away. D. Murray, end of public comment. Public comment number 4, I will begin reading now from Merritt W. When the toll roads opened during the 1990s, Orange County's $2.4 billion tollway system was touted as an innovative way to build public highways through issuing bonds and many capital appreciation bonds. But that initial optimism has consistently come up short. Today we owe double that amount. Today you will hear a visioning. Wait, what we hope you will nip this in the bud and commit and confirm now that the toll system is complete. Aside from some widenings here and there, that bond repaying is the sole focus. The TCA legislatively and through securities issued are confined to the toll system, nothing outside. We have OCTA and Caltrans. This is a desperate attempt to stay relevant. There are few proposed transportation agencies that share the same lack of transparency and questionable consultant and insider contracting award practices. Sadly, not much has changed with the new leadership of Mr. Johnson. When today on the consent calendar, increases in non-board approval expenditures for consultants are back as the TCA staff see fit. Don Wagner, when the communications lab contract came back with its 20th something amendment, said, "What is going on?" They were being paid over $4 million a year by this agency without a scope of work on the contract. The TCA is regressing back to their old ways. The new leadership has proven ineffective. Taxpayers deserve better. Please stand up and lead this agency and make them fulfill on their promise of paying down the bonds and freeing the roads now that the toll system is complete. Thank you, Mert W. End of public comment.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And that does conclude our public comments, but I will ask CEO Johnson. Is there one more? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think we're all like,
Public comment number 5, received by Michelle Schumacher. I will begin reading now. Good morning and welcome new board members. I am pleased to see some new faces on the TCA board and am hopeful that you will be the change this is needed after the past 6 years and after the scathing grand jury report, combined with the excessive spending we have witnessed. Examples of $35,000 spent for one dinner and $5,000 regular rounds of golf the TCA was previously enjoying. I ask that you help demand that the TCA establish a real timeline to pay down their debt, eliminate the development fees, and convert the toll roads to freeways like they promised more than 20 years ago. I ask for your support in reducing a significant tax on all Orange County residents that oftentimes go unnoticed. Are you aware that the Transportation Corridor Agency, the TCA, has taxed OC homeowners and businesses to the tune of $710 million since the agency was established in 1987. These taxes come in the form of development fees that are assessed on a new residential and commercial properties developed within the county. The TCA was formed in 1987 with the explicit purpose of constructing the 73, 241, and 261 toll roads. At the time that the TCA was established, bonds were issued to pay for construction of these new toll roads. The promise made by the TCA at the time was that the debt taken on by the TCA for construction of these new toll roads would be paid off through a combination of development fees and tolls collected on the roads by drivers who use the roads. 100% of the debt was to be paid off within 30 years, and the toll roads were supposed to become freeways like the rest of the interstate highways. As it turns out, the TCA has horribly mismanaged their role and has squandered these silent taxes paid for by your constituents. Not only are the toll roads not freeways, but this TCA is still over $4 billion in debt for construction of these roads, and $11 billion by the time the bonds were paid off in 2053. This is a dereliction of duty and traversity for Orange County taxpayers. Now, the TCA is coming back to gorge once again at the public trial. The TCA is currently attempting to vision plan and fund projects outside the toll system and outside their jurisdiction, forcing another burden on taxpayers. Please do not allow the TCA to continue to mismanage its finances. And whatever you do, please eliminate these hidden taxes that go to subsidize these mismanaged entities. I hope you will read the joint power agreement and see that the thank you. End of public comment. Last public comment, number 6, from No Toll Road to 2021. I will begin reading now. Dear Board of Directors, I find the CEO compensation to a mortgage disingenuous. Here are the facts. Thanks to the use of capital appreciation bonds, where the bond issuer is unable to pay the full debt service, principal, and interest due, so part of the interest is added to the principal. The original debt of $3.3 billion, instead of diminishing, increased to $4.9 billion after 22 years of payments. It would be like buying a house I couldn't afford in 1998 with $1 million mortgage, paying only partial interest and principal for 22 years, and finding in 2020 that I now owe 1.5 million. Anyone with that kind of debt history would be in terrible trouble. And TCA doesn't even own the road, so there's no offsetting appreciation in value. This continues to occur and debt continues to grow, not diminish. Last year, total debt increased again. Nothing like a traditional mortgage. How many times do taxpayers have to pay for the same road? Do not allow the vision planning to proceed today. The agency carries more debt than is acceptable. It is time to pay down the bond. Sincerely yours. End of public comment. And that's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That does conclude our public comments, and I would like to ask CEO Johnson if he has any responses to
Yes.
the comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Definitely in regards to the last public comment, if any board member would like a briefing on our financial history, we're happy to provide that. I would disagree with the public commenter. I think the financial structure that those leaders put in place some 30 years ago was the right structure and the only structure that could be used to deliver the investments in transportation infrastructure that we've achieved today. And I can work with staff to provide briefings to board members who'd like more information on that. And then also, we always appreciate constructive criticism from our customers. And the first public speaker offered some comments that we are considering. And I'll ask Mr. Rick Carrier, our interim Chief Toll Operations Officer, to provide some responses there.
Thank you.
Mr. Carrier?
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. After we received the email from the customer, I reached out to her, and during our discussion, it turns out that the issue that she was having wasn't related to a transponder that she had recently received. It was actually a transponder that she had been using for a little over a year that was in a vehicle that changed owners. The new owner, when the vehicle changed owners, she removed the vehicle from her account, but she forgot to remove the transponder or inactivate the transponder. So I took care of the transactions in her account, moved them to the correct account. She did offer some excellent suggestions about what we may want to think about doing when we send out transponders, because they are activated when we send them out. So we have we're going to have our communications team and our legal team review some communication that we can possibly send out to our customers to cover any of the situations that this customer mentioned in her email. And like Mr. Johnson said, I really appreciate the recommendations or the suggestions that she provided.
Thank you, Mr. Carrier.
That's it.
And as has been noted, we do truly we would love to hear from any customers who are having problems or suggestions. So thank you, Mr. Carrier, for the personal outreach to this customer and for the information that you have provided.
I have a point of order. Point of order.
Who is that, please?
It's Gene James in San Clemente. During the Pledge of Allegiance, former Director Munsing gave the Pledge of Allegiance. Is he a participant in this call? And if so, why?
That is actually our next agenda item, and I will go to our Mr. Johnson.
Madam Chair and Director, so Mr. Munsing is participating as a guest for the initial part of your agenda. He stepped up and volunteered to do the Pledge of Allegiance, which we don't have a requirement on who leads the Pledge of Allegiance. But since we couldn't hear Supervisor Chafee, who had previously noted he would, Mr. Munsing was quick to volunteer and step up to support that important part of your agenda.
I have no issue with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm just wondering why he's a participant on this call.
When to see your handsome face, Gene?
So Director James, if you look at the next item on your agenda, I think that will clarify things for you.
Okay,
And
I
after
got
that-
it now. I have no issues at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. And hopefully Director Chafee has joined us by now, but he did not appear to be with us when it was time to do the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, so our first item on the agenda is a special calendar item, and it is a recognition for our San Joaquin Hills TCA outgoing board member who has left us, and that is one of our former colleagues, Mike Munsing. Mike Munsing served on the San Joaquin Hills Board from 2017 through 2020 as the representative from Aliso Viejo. He also served on several TCA committees, including the Joint Finance and Investment Committee, the Joint Toll Operations Committee, and the Joint Strategic Planning Committee. I served on several of those committees with Mike, and he is actually with us here today. I know at home it's hard for you to see who's at the table, but he is here. And I do want to thank you, Mike, for your example to all of us in practicing the regional approach that really benefits what we do here at TCA. We all have our cities or districts to be mindful of, but we do our best when we think regionally, and you certainly demonstrated this trait. On a personal note, I know I speak for everyone that we are so pleased to see your continued recovery from a very challenging health issue. I'm a person of faith, and I know you are as well. And I know there was more on your side than the great medical care you received and your glowing personality, which we all love. Personally, I've been praying for you every day, and I continue that prayer. And I know that you've had the prayers of many of our directors. It was amazing to see your dedication to the agency, still participating in meetings even today, and even though it was undoubtedly a life-changing experience. Your continued participation made it clear that you knew this was just a speed bump, and we see you are already heading down the road. As you continue on to the next chapter in your amazing story, we certainly wish you and your family well on that journey. And Mike, on behalf of your board colleagues and staff, we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for your service here at TCA in your city and in the region. Now, we did take a few pictures outside before the meeting began, and I have a couple of items for Director Munsing, former Director Munsing. I have a resolution, which you may hang in your office.
All right, thank you.
And we also have,
This is I am me, and
and I won't read it. I went through a few of your accomplishments. We also have a plaque that is very nice, that shows our appreciation for your service as the San Joaquin Hills, on the San Joaquin Hills Board of Directors.
thank you, Trish.
2017 through 2020. So we do miss you already, but we are so grateful for your service and even more grateful to see how you have recovered. And I would like to ask, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, of course. Really want to thank all of you for your friendship, for your support. Last year was very tough, as you know, and I want to thank all my friends on the board, as well as the staff, because the staff is extremely supportive, and I've missed you all, and I'm just hoping that my friend Richard Hurd is doing a fine job in my replacement. Richard, well done, sir. I'm hearing only good things, but I just want to thank you all, your friends on the outside of TCA, and I just was honored to be asked to come by today and say a kind of a formal farewell, but also these beautiful plaques, and that just means so much. And it's great to sit here with Samuel and Trish and the rest of the staff. And but I will be leaving now, so not to worry. And you can get on with your fun meeting and do some good work. And I'll see you all on the outside. All right, thanks, guys.
And you actually can't leave quite yet.
Oh, not yet.
Because I see that we do have some hands raised.
Oh.
Let me first go to Chair Wong.
Director Munzing, Mike, my buddy, thank you so much for your years of service. So good to see you healthy and your voice getting stronger every single day. I'm just amazed by what God has done in your life and the progress you have made in the improvement of your health. I'll miss sitting literally across from you at every month, and I really enjoy our conversations, and I hope to see you real soon. Take good care, buddy.
Thanks, Peggy. Honored to have you as a friend.
Thank you, Chair Wong. And we also, I see Director Heff's hand is raised, followed by Director Minigar.
Mike, what can I say? We've known each other for years and years, even before you ever decided to pursue politics, and you're a great guy. You know, you've got gold, and you do everything with gusto and for it. And I'm just so happy because you have been in my prayers for a long time. That God would come through, and he did in a spectacular way. And we're going to miss you, and I just can't tell you how much I appreciate you in so many ways, and just love you as a friend.
Thank you, Janine. I love you and Carl. So appreciate it. And your prayers everybody's prayers got me through and got me my miracle. So.
Thank you. Now, Director Minigar.
Fred.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brother Mike, I truly appreciate for all your services and dedication to TCA, as well as your home city of Aliso Viejo. As you know, I represent the neighboring city of Laguna Niguel, and I've always enjoyed working with you in any shape and form and capacity, and I wish you the best of health, and I'll see you around. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Got some exciting stuff coming from mayors in the coming months, so you'll be updated. So.
Madam Chair, Scott Boyce from Lake Forest.
Go ahead.
I want to thank Mike for your service to the TCA, for your service to the residents of Aliso Viejo in the county of Orange. I think that your influence from Aliso Viejo has gone far and broad along this county, and that you, as a man of faith, walked your faith out. We reward with a healing that is amazing to all of us, and we thank God that you have been healed, and thank you that you walk in health, because God is good. God keeps his promises, and that God is today, yesterday, and forever. And so we just want to say thank you. We're blessed to call you our friend. We want to wish you well as you continue to serve the people of Aliso, and God continue to bless you and your family. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Scotty. Your prayers are always appreciated. Always love that. Thank you.
Hey, you always have them. Call me anytime you need them, Mike.
I count on that. Thanks, Scotty.
Thank you, Director Voigt. And
with that,
I believe that those comments that we've heard echo the sentiments of every director on this board. You have been a respected and beloved director here and servant. So we do thank you, and we wish you the best. We know that you're not going away. You're still around.
I'll be around whenever you need me.
Okay, so we appreciate that, and you have your special items you can take home and hang on.
Donut. It's a maple.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. We will allow him to exit, and
I'm leaving, Gene. Don't worry. I'm out of here.
And we now come to our San Joaquin Hills consent calendar, which consists of items numbers 2 through 4, 6, 8 through 11. And so I would like to ask any of the San Joaquin Hills directors if they would like to pull. do not hear anyone.
Madam Chair?
pulling an item.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
Madam Chair?
yes.
Sorry, you cut out there on the audio for a moment. Wagner to poll 11 for a brief comment.
Okay, Wagner is pulling 11. And are there any other directors who may wish to pull any items? If not, I will entertain a motion now for the balance of the consent calendar.
Madam Chair, this
Move
is
the
Cynthia.
balance, Wagner.
I'll move the balance of the consent calendar.
Okay, I hear a motion by Director Connors, and was there a second? Is there a second?
Second by O'Neill.
Trevor, or
Will.
Will
yeah.
O'Neill. Will O'Neill, thank you. And I will now ask the clerk to please do a roll call vote for us.
Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Vice Chair Will O'Neill,
Yes.
Alternate Goebel, excuse me,
Yes.
Director Connors,
Yes.
Director Hess,
Yes.
Director Hurt,
Yes.
Director James.
Yes.
Director Khan,
Yes.
Director Minigar,
Aye.
Director Penaloza,
Yes.
Director Reynolds,
Yes.
Director Taylor,
Yes.
Director Victoric,
Aye.
Director Wagner.
Aye.
Madam Chair, the item passes unanimously.
Thank you. And now we will take a look at item number 11. And Supervisor Wagner, did you have a question or a comment? Would you like a staff report? What is
I
your?
don't need a, thank you, Madam Chair. I don't need a staff report. In fact, we've had an opportunity to reach out to the Executive Director Johnson on this. I just want to make sure that we have a quick chance to take a look and recognize that we are increasing the money available to CHP for patrol. I'm hearing of potential drag races, folks hitting up around 100 miles an hour or so on our toll roads, and want to just give Samuel an opportunity to address what we're doing to try to resolve those problems and to step up enforcement on the toll roads.
Okay, thank you,
All right.
CEO Johnson.
All right, thank you for that comment and questions, Supervisor. So the amounts you see reflected in this item are consistent with the current year's authorization provided by the board. Those amounts do reflect the reduction that was put in place last year, which did reduce the amount of service we received from CHP. I think your comment is well noted, and I would always suggest that the board keep in mind our role as a public agency, in addition to always looking at our bottom line of cost. So right now, our focus for CHP's usage and their services is really in two areas. First and foremost, we always focus on toll evasion and enforcement and deterrence in that regard. But when the CHP is out there performing those services, they always look at safety issues first. The other area we are using those services is to help with some of the bad behaviors we see occurring on the 241 to 91 during peak periods in the evening, where the backup on the 91 extends on the 241, and you have some, I'll say, impatient folks who don't demonstrate good manners and will use the high-speed lanes or the free-flowing lanes and jump into stopping and go traffic at the last minute, which is not an ideal situation. The concerns you noted regarding folks traveling at high speeds, my understanding right now is that often occurs late at night, where TCA is not necessarily utilizing those CHP services. And if the board wanted to ensure that the CHP was out there during that time, we can look at that. It would require additional dollars, but outside the additional services, we of course are in coordination with CHP and letting them know of our concerns.
Right, and I thought this was the right agenda item, obviously, to tee up that discussion as to whether we want to contact CHP and see about increasing that enforcement in those off hours. It probably won't take much to get the word out that it won't be tolerated, but I think it's a discussion for this board, either in this item or at some future board meeting.
So staff will take that direction, Supervisor. We will coordinate with CHP and see what we can accomplish. And if it necessitates a amendment or additional authority from the board, we will bring that item back to you.
Thank you. And with that, I move the item, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Wagner, and we do have, thank you for your comments, very well taken. And we have a motion, is there a second?
Cynthia
Second
Connors.
by Minigar.
Fred can have it.
Second by Director Minigar. And I will ask the clerk now to please call the roll call vote. Hamilton.
Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Vice Chair Will O'Neill,
Yes.
Alternate Goebel,
Yes.
Director Connors,
Yes.
Director Hess,
Yes.
Director Hertz,
Yes.
Director James,
Aye.
Director Khan,
Yes.
Director Minigar,
Aye.
Director Penaloza,
Yes.
Director Reynolds,
Yes.
Director Taylor,
Yes.
Director Vic-Sorick,
Aye.
Director Wagner.
Aye.
Madam Chair, item passes unanimously.
Thank you. That item passes, and we will now consider the Foothill Eastern consent calendar, which consists of items numbers 2 through 3, 5, and 7 through 11. Is there a director who would like to pull or discuss any of those items?
Madam
This is
Chair,
Director Ward.
Scott Voigt.
Go ahead, Scott.
Director Ward.
Okay, I will
Madam Chair,
move the consent calendar.
Madam Chair,
Okay.
I'd like to pull, Madam Chair, I'd like to pull item 3, 7, 8, 9, and 11.
Can I move the
Uh,
balance, Madam Chair?
Yes, would you say those numbers again, please, Director Boyd?
3, 7, 8, 9, and 11.
3, 7.
Now I'll move the remainder. 3, 7, 8, 9, and 11.
Thank you. We do lose a little bit with our virtual meetings, so thank you for repeating
Madam
those.
Chair, I'll move the remainder.
There is a motion for the remainder of the items. Is there a second?
Second that, I'll second that.
And there's a second by, who made the second, please?
Director Voigt?
You made the motion.
No,
I'm sorry, Director Ward
Director
made the
Ward.
motion. Okay, thank you,
Director Voigt made the second. Thank you, Madam
Okay.
Chair.
thank you. All right, and I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Chair Wong,
Aye.
Chair Wong, Vice Chair Miller,
Aye.
Alternate Goebel,
Yes.
Director Beal,
Aye.
Director Chafee,
Yes, I apologize. I was using a different device for the first time and I couldn't make it work. It's now in the wastebasket. So I've gone over to a different device. And sorry, I apologize. I vote aye.
Thank you.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Khan,
Yes.
Director Lombard,
Yes.
Director Murphy,
Yes.
Director Trevor O'Neill,
Aye.
Director Penaloza,
Yes.
Director Taylor,
Yes.
Director Voigt,
Yes.
Director Wagner,
Aye.
Director Ward.
Aye.
Madam Chair, the balance passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. We will now go back and look at item number 3. Director Voigt?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This is Joint Strategic Planning Committee, item number 3. I went out to Big Bear this last weekend, and on my way out of Orange County, making the grade out of Irvine, I realized that the sinkage has got worse along the 241 as you leave in Irvine. But then on my way back on Monday morning, I found that coming down the grade, because of my speed, because of the lack of highway patrol, I was finding that the sinkage was, where are we with a redoing that and repairing that sinkage along the 241 as you leave in Irvine, climb up the grade?
Thank you. CEO Johnson?
So Director Voigt, we can definitely arrange a briefing with you to update you on Caltrans' efforts to make improvements along that segment of the corridor. I know they've completed some portion of the work, but I don't know the exact status and schedule for the remainder of the work. So I will ask our Chief Engineer, Dave Spears, to work with the clerk and you to schedule a time for a briefing on that.
That'd be awesome. And I'd also like to report at the 241-91 connector, a car went through the wildlife fencing as you make the connection over to the 91. Are you guys aware of that?
Our Deputy CEO is aware of that and will provide a quick response.
Director Voigt, we are aware of that, and we will work with Caltrans to have that repaired as soon as possible.
Yeah, it just, I heard about it about 2 weeks ago, and then I went out this weekend. I went out on it, and it was still unrepaired. And obviously, that has been something that we've won awards for, to enhance the wildlife along our corridor and keep them safe. And so that's a busy road right there. So I'd hate to see any deer or any cougar or coyotes get out there. So thank you. With that, I'll move the item number 3.
Okay, there's a motion by Director Voigt. Is there a second?
It's a receive and file.
Maybe you want to take them as a group to minimize the number of roll call votes.
Okay.
So if he wants to share his thoughts on item 7.
Okay, would you like to share your thoughts on item number 7? And what I'd like to do is hear your comments on each one, and then perhaps we can move
We'll
them
do
as
it
a
all at
group.
once. That'd be fine. That would be fine. So, sign enhancement. Obviously, we had budget amendment of $915,000, 820. With construction completed at Oso Parkway, are our bills going to come down on the signage enhancements? Because I know that we've had to highlight the fact that that's open now. Is that signage coming down now? Because it's 78,000 of the 58% of that.
Director Voigt, I may not be tracking exactly with your question involving the 2 separate projects. So our signage, if I don't answer you, please let me know. So our signage enhancement project, which involved replacing about 600 signs throughout our system and on the approaches to our system, that project is nearing completion. I believe the contractor hit one small snag or a big snag last week, which is going to push that schedule out a few more weeks. But that project is wrapping up. In terms of the Oso Parkway Bridge, there is an item on your agenda regarding the closeout of that project and handling the remaining punch list items. But I can't say I can't say that the completion of the signage project results in any savings to the Oso Parkway Bridge project.
Okay, thank you. So, well, because of the cost of the new signage, that new sign enhancement includes the new signage going south of Oso Parkway, notifying the drivers of our opening, right?
So I would say the signage that we needed at Oso Parkway, Mr. Spears, please correct me if I'm not giving the board the correct information, but the signage needed at Oso Parkway was included as part of the Oso Parkway project itself. The signage enhancements was really focused on existing signs throughout the system.
That's correct,
Okay.
Samuel.
Thank you, Mr. Spears.
All right, and then on number 8 still, this is our procurement of our contracts. It has our a date approved. It doesn't have a date that it would with the contract where it actually if it began the fiscal year that it began, because I think that's one of the things that we get criticized from the public on is some of the long-term contracts that we had out there. So just to have a kind of idea when we actually began contract service with some of these people might be nice for us to be able to have on our spreadsheet here, to where like where our disposal started in 94 or whatever, and then our last contract approval date was 12/23/20, and that ending will be 11/30/21. Just a point. I don't need the answer on that one. I just thought that would be a great addition, because the fact is that's something we've been criticized on before. And then on item number 8, also, it has business council membership as $25,000, $1,000 from Foothill Eastern, $1,000 from San Juan. Why do we have 2 different item lines that have a $25,000 payoff to Orange County Business Council and then a $10,000?
So Director Voigt, there are 2 different elements of our membership and participation with OCBC, and I will ask Ms. Barbie Daly, our Director of Legislative Affairs, to clarify.
Morning, Chair Kelly and directors. Thank you, Director Voigt, for this question, because it gives me an opportunity to elaborate on the benefits TCA receives from these organizations. As you may know, OCBC is the leading voice for business in Orange County, and it provides a proactive forum for TCA with businesses and other government agencies. And together, this group serves the business interests so that the region's vibrant economy will continue to expand. And key, as we know, to that expansion is transportation. So OCBC has a diverse membership base consisting of nearly 250 businesses, cities, and organizations that represent the region's top employers. It gives TCA an opportunity to connect with these thought leaders in business and transportation. OCBC also has several active working committees that TCA staff participates in, including the infrastructure and advocacy and government affairs committees. These committees meet monthly, and they provide an opportunity for TCA staff to engage in the important matters of discussion with our guest speakers. TCA also has input in the legislative action guide that governs OCBC and serves as the policy and advocacy guidelines. And with TCA's active involvement, this allows the agency an opportunity to provide presentations to the membership base as a way of educating the business community about TCA. And as for OC Moves, while it's under the general umbrella of OCBC, OC Moves is focused solely on transportation. And it's also a collaboration of business leaders, but also public agencies, elected leaders, community leaders, and they're dedicated to improving regional mobility. So OC Moves provides a collaborative venue to ensure strategic implementation of critical infrastructure. And very importantly, OC Moves advocates at the state and federal levels of government on transportation matters. As a result of our membership, TCA has benefited in numerous ways, including official briefings with state and federal elected officials. A good example, in calendar year 2020, OCBC and OC Moves collectively hosted and TCA participated in briefings with 34 local, state, and federal representatives, as well as various agency heads, to include the U.S. Federal Highway Administrator, Nicole Nason, and California's Secretary of State, Alex Padilla, who we know was recently appointed to fulfill Kamala Harris's Senate seat. And this is notable because Senator Padilla was just appointed to the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee, which has jurisdiction over transportation matters. So this was great. We had an opportunity to talk about TCA with him when he was serving prior in the state. So, and then OC Moves works with TCA and OCTA to advocate for legislation beneficial to our agencies. And one more item I think I should point out is a couple of the key examples that they've helped us with. One was the temporary license plate bill that went into effect in 2019. And then most recently, they've been very supportive in our efforts to ensure toll operators are interoperable so that customers can have a seamless experience using toll facilities in the state with only one account. And that concludes my comments on that, but I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
That was a wonderful explanation of that. Thank you so much for your explanation of that extra cost. But now item number 9, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, it's on customer feedback, customer survey. We have our numbers are down. Incoming calls are down from 638,000 to 447,000, yet our average wait time has gone from 40 seconds to at nearly 10 minutes. What was the cause in the increase of time, people waiting for service on our lines?
That's a very good question, Director Voigt. As you can imagine, the pandemic and the economic impacts of the pandemic are creating challenges all about. But I will ask our interim chief toll operations officer, Mr. Rick Carrier, to shed some more light on that.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Director Voigt, we do call center staffing based on historical averages. Our contractor Faneuil has a tool that they use to project the staffing that will be required. In the month of October, the call center volume greatly exceeded the previous month's volumes. So they were understaffed for the month of October, and that raised the average call wait time for that quarter. We have since, and we also had some issues with getting enough new CSRs in the queue to get trained because of the limitations that were imposed due to social distancing. So we converted the committee conference room into a classroom so we could get additional CSRs in training in that larger room. And since then, Faneuil has onboarded additional customer service representatives, and that has brought the call wait time down. The historical averages, because of the, go ahead. Okay.
Director Voigt, were you sharing something?
I didn't make any noise, no.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Carrier.
Right, so the historical averages that we rely on for number of calls continue to fluctuate, but it's generally on an increase, and the call volume is increasing faster than the rate of customers using the road. So we are opening almost 3/4 of the number of new accounts that we were before the pandemic. So customer service is increasing. We put procedures in place to make sure that Faneuil has the ability to ramp up their staffing. And we think that going forward, we'll be able to maintain the level of customer service that our customers deserve.
So just to further highlight that, Director Voigt, I don't want the board members thinking this was a surprise. So you know the contract model we use with our customer service contractor, Faneuil, is very focused on always having the staff right-sized. That way, TCA isn't paying more than it needs to or short-sighting staff. But the challenge in that revolves around what Mr. Carrier noted in projecting workloads so they can make sure they have the staffing level identified. So back last year in March, when the pandemic was taking hold, we knew our work volumes in customer service were dropping. So we did expect Faneuil to help with the cost side of that by reducing their staffing force. We clearly understood that there was going to be a challenge in ramping staffing back up when we needed them, but we did not expect that it was going to ramp up to the level it did, especially in a 1-month window. So we are making some adjustments, as Mr. Carrier noted, and we got things firmly under control by December. So if you look at the third page in that infographic, you can see the challenges that Mr. Carrier noted with October and how we made significant improvements in November and then got fully on track with the board's performance targets in December.
Thank you. It just kind of jumped out at me because the fact is that's well over a 9-minute wait time than it was previously years. So we're at 40 seconds into nearly 10 minutes. Was a big jump, yet it's over 200,000 vote or caller down. So with over 200,000 voters or callers, it was a huge jump.
Yeah, and a key lesson we learned through this, Director Voigt, is that our workload in customer service does not always align with traffic volumes on the road. In the past, it has, but as I noted at the very beginning, the pandemic is teaching us all new things.
Thank you. Item number 11.
Yes.
Item
Go
number
ahead.
11 is my last item.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's actually Highway Patrol Service. As I was driving out to Big Bear, I noticed that there were a lot of cars that were speeding by me, even though I consider myself a fairly fast driver myself. But with $297,000 as not to exceed amount for Foothill Eastern, what is the state paying for patrolling the 241 as a highway? Do we just pay for enforcement, or do we pay for the enforcement of speeding and traffic violations along the 241 that included in the $290,000?
So as noted on the earlier item, understand why Joaquin, Director Voigt. So our budget allocation as directed by the board is focused heavily on toll evasion, enforcement, and deterrent, as well as trying to manage the behavior on the 241, 291, and the queue jumping that occurs there. But whenever we use CHP services, no matter what we're contracting them for, they are always going to hold safety as the first and foremost priority, as they should. So when it comes to the things, the services they're providing that TCA is not paying for, they do have a level of service out there to patrol and help with safety matters like you noted. But like any public agency, their resources are constrained and they assign those resources based on priority. And this is a good tie-in to actually what Supervisor Wagner mentioned earlier. So we are very fortunate that our facilities are some of the safest facilities in the state and the country. That's just a historical thing that goes with toll roads and your ability to manage demand. So when the state is looking at where they allocate those precious resources, you know, they're going to focus heavily on where safety challenges exist more. So with our roads being as safe as they are, we're going to fall towards the bottom of that list in terms of priorities. But as Supervisor Wagner noted, it is important that we keep that description of our roads being safe. And if we have folks out there speeding, doing excessive speeding, especially as he noted, if folks are out there drag racing and driving 100+ miles an hour, that diminishes our safety reputation, because we want all our customers to know that they can use our roads not only for time savings and reliability, but also for safety.
So that nearly $300,000. Maybe I can get a briefing on what that kind of includes. Is that just 24-hour, 24/7 patrol of that? Because I didn't see, and in fact, the visibility of the CHP along the 241 wasn't very prevalent. I didn't see any. And as you come onto the 241-91 transition, cue jumping the lane where people come racing down the hill to the very end just before they hit our dividers and cut in is pretty immense. I'd just like to have an update on that, see where we're at with that, because it doesn't seem like there was any patrols out there.
All right, absolutely, Director Voigt. The team will arrange a briefing with you to cover in more detail that topic.
Thank you so much. With that, I'll move the remainder of the balance of the consent calendar. Thank you.
Okay, so there is a motion there for items 3, 7, 8, 9, and 11. Is there a second?
Second, Director Murphy.
Second by Director Murphy. And Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Chair Wong,
Yes.
Vice Chair Miller,
Aye.
Alternate Goebel,
Yes.
Director Beal,
Aye.
Director Chafee,
Aye.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Khan,
Yes.
Director Lombard,
Yes.
Director Murphy,
Yes.
Director Trevor O'Neill,
Aye.
Director Penaloza,
Yes.
Director Taylor,
Yes.
Director Voigt,
Yes.
Director Wagner,
Aye.
Director Ward.
Aye.
Madam Chair, the remaining balance passes unanimously.
Okay, that motion has passed unanimously. Now we will take a look at board business, items 12 through 16. Item number 12 is the Foothill Eastern Bond refunding for savings, and we will ask for the presentation by our CFO, Ms. Potter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm very pleased to present you with the results of the Foothill Eastern bond refunding transaction. Next slide, please. So when we had originally presented this transaction for savings to you, we were looking at doing another advance refunding of the bonds that we were targeting and replacing them with taxable bonds, similar to what we did a year ago and what many other issuers have done over the past year. And during the process, in working through with the committee, we identified an opportunity to enhance the savings by incorporating a bond buyback. And the bond buyback was so successful that we were able to reduce our payments by $214.4 million net of all costs without extending any of the bond maturity dates. As soon as we issued the preliminary official statement, the bond buyer, a publication, took note of the uniqueness of this transaction and they covered the item. Investors took note of that and the transaction then was extremely successful. And so after we priced the bonds in late January, the bond buyer followed up with an article noting the success of the transaction. Next slide, please. And so this transaction where we, as I stated, saved over $214 million net of all costs without extending any bond maturity dates, met all of the goals. And that was the first goal actually stated by the board, which was to not extend any bond maturity dates. We were also able to generate savings and improve our debt service coverage in every year. We also were able to include a 10-year par call on these bonds, which then preserves our future flexibility. This also further strengthens our credit. And as I stated, we really optimize the mix of tax exempt and taxable refunding bonds to bring down the interest cost. Next slide. So this is another example of the innovative approach that TCA has taken throughout its history. As I mentioned, when we started working through this process, the finance team recognized an opportunity to save more in this transaction by converting some of the taxable advance refunding to a tax-exempt current refunding. And this was because we really recognized that the supply of tax-exempt bonds in the market was very limited due to the numerous taxable advance refundings that had been taken place over the last year. And so we listened to investors and the fact that they really wanted to hold on to their tax-exempt bonds. And so it ended up being extremely successful, which I'll share with you in just a moment, the results of how much participation there was. But in addition, the industry really took note of this transaction and the uniqueness of it. And now other issuers are looking at incorporating this strategy into their transactions as well. Next slide. And so the strong success of this refunding really does demonstrate investor confidence in our agency. As far as the buyback goes, we had over 77% participation in both the exchange and the tender. And so that really exceeded everyone's expectations. And the part that was really interesting to me and most pleasing was the fact that the majority of that, 70%, were part of an exchange of the bonds. And so what that means is that those investors really do have confidence in our agency, in our credit, in the way we manage our finances, that they wanted to hold on to those bonds and didn't want to risk having to fight for them when we went out to issue those bonds. There was also some participation in the tender, which then we took those bonds that we got back that weren't exchanged and we issued those as tax-exempt bonds. And then the balance of the transaction ended up being pretty small, where we issued those as taxable bonds. We had so much demand for the bonds that we were issuing that we had over 75 investors participate, and the bonds were oversubscribed by more than 15 times. And there were a number of investors who actually placed orders for the entire amount of the bonds, knowing that they would need to fight for their share. And so this really does, once again, demonstrate their confidence in the agency's strong financial track record, our strong liquidity, and our conservative budgeting, and also the financial policies that the board has adopted in recent years. Next slide. And so here's where you see how we are expecting, or how we will reduce our payments over the next years. We will start saving this first year with the second semi-annual payment. And then over the next 4 years, we will reduce our payments by over $13 million. And then the next several years through 2031, we will be reducing our payments by 10.6 million. And then you can see it continues on after that by around 6 million a year. And really, once again, this transaction really further strengthened the agency's cash position and our already strong financial position, and really allows the agency the flexibility to pay down bonds in the future as expressed by the board. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much, CFO Potter. I know that CEO Johnson would like to say a word, and then I'd like to hear any comments from directors as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No, I just wanted to highlight the hard work done by Ms. Potter and her team to execute what is a very effective debt management policy that the boards have in place. And I also like to thank Director Beal and his leadership and the Joint Finance and Investment Committee's support. Because when staff was working on this, we actually asked the committee if we could have a couple of extra months to look at this innovative aspect and get it incorporated, and those extra 2 months definitely paid off. So thank you for your support on that effort and our schedule request to the, Director Beal and members of the Finance Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. And this is truly a wonderful success story. And Ms. Potter, I really commend you for your resourcefulness in this, in bringing this opportunity to our attention. And I really take note of a lot of what you have shared with us about the uniqueness of this, the investor confidence. And this is like I said, a really great success story, $214.4 million of savings, net of all transaction costs without extending any bond maturity dates. It's wonderful. So thank you so much for all of your hard work on that. And again, your resourcefulness. This is presentation only. Are there any other director comments at this time?
Director Murphy?
Yes, go ahead.
This is a curiosity question that I wouldn't ordinarily ask, and that is, do we have a policy in place for strategies to utilize this $214 million, or at least the first few years of that? Given the questions about our debt repayment plans, it would be wise, in my opinion, to run something through the appropriate committees and back to the board about a policy in terms of the percentage of that saving that is directed in early bond repayment or pay down of debt.
At this point, Director Murphy, the board, the Foothill Eastern Board has not given that direction, but this definitely plays into the discussion you will have on item 16 of your agenda. And the boards in those discussions have made it clear that early repayment of some of our debt is something that you want to consider.
I appreciate that. And I guess I would just suggest to the colleagues that it's my experience that quantifying that and putting a goal in place through policy, I think will ensure that actually happens, rather than some of it being utilized for other purposes. And I know there's no intention to do that for other purposes, but I just think it's wise when you realize a savings like this, and a pretty extraordinary one at that. Certainly kudos to the staff and everybody involved with it. But I would love to see something specific about how much of that money, that savings, is going to go into repayment. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Director Murphy. And I see Supervisor Chafee, did you have a comment?
Yes, I did. Thank you. I appreciate the great result we have, and I have a question about our bond rating. Now that we're saving that much money, it looks like the marketplace views us more favorably than some of our rating agencies do. What does that do to our rating, by the way? Is it going to help us, this savings, and get us a better bond rating?
You know, that's a great, because right before the pandemic, I think we were headed towards further upgrades as well. And so that is something that we will certainly pursue, but this type of transaction definitely helps with that, as far as some of the other policies and things that we put in place in recent years. So we will continue to work through that during the COVID pandemic. I think that's a time where the rating agencies aren't making moves like that. They've actually downgraded some entities, which we're very fortunate that that's not our case. But we'll definitely pursue that once we get past the pandemic.
Thank you for your great work.
Madam Chair, Madam Chair, voice from Lake Forest.
Yes, go ahead.
I thank you, Amy, for the great work in identifying that savings that we could do. But I would like to just make a shout out that as a representative of the people and trying to represent them in a faith gesture by the board and by TCA would be our annual rate increase of I think 2% might be suspended, where we're having less traffic on our rest of our corridors, the 5, the 405, the traffic's down, more people working from. So it's something that we might go look at. It's the 241 and the 70 an attractive place to drive, but the fact is that the cost and they continue raising the traffic not being bad at the 2 corridors. I think that we might look at maybe possibly suspending that rate increase this year, and that's thank you, Amy, for that great savings of $214 over the life of that bond. Thank you so much. It was a great job, and we are looking for ways to pay down on our debt. But I'd like to be someone that is proactive in trying to save drivers, the commuters of Orange County, a little bit of money too. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Voigt, and I see a hand by Director Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Amy, do we see an immediate benefit to the $214 million on our bond indentures?
I'm not sure.
I'm talking about our reserves that we have to set aside to make sure we impair bonds. Do we see an immediate advantage to that, or do we have to realize that over time?
No, that the funds that are sitting there as reserves in accordance with the bond indentures will remain, but this does strengthen our unrestricted cash. So our other liquidity, which helps us then in our credit, of course, and then also it does help us in regard to meeting our covenants too, because we're already well exceeding them, but this with our debt service coverage. So obviously by, sorry about that. So obviously by decreasing our payments, that improves our debt service coverage as well.
Right. That's basically what I was asking, because I knew that if we realize it right now, it'll actually improve our unrestricted cash. We do have other projects that we're looking at, as well as paying down our bonds. And that'll help us in our discussion about how we prioritize those payments once we get back over to capital, and we can have that conversation in finance too, in terms of how policies and how we allocate this new reduction in debt. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Miller, and we definitely will be sharing and hearing a lot of ideas going forward. Again, this was presentation only. If there are no further comments, we will move on now. I don't see any additional hands. We'll move on now to item number 13. This is payment processing services.
Madam Chair, this is Director Vixoric.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair, I need to recuse myself from this item because I own more than $2,000 of stock in JP Morgan Chase. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So Director, staff will move you to the lobby. And once this item is done, we will reconnect you in with the rest of the board.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I need to make the same declaration of recusal.
Okay, and we see Vice Chair O'Neill recused as well. Any other directors? Okay, may we have that presentation, please, that staff report?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Jason Ferrer, Controller. If we go to the first slide of the presentation. This item is a request to approve a contract for payment processing services, which are required for the agencies to collect our toll revenues from our customers. The Finance Committee unanimously did recommend this for this on January 27th. This contract allows continued Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American Express, and also ACH payment processing. The agencies did issue a request for proposal to procure a new contract, as the current contract expires on June 30th of this year. I'll be presenting the results of the RFP today for your consideration. A payment processor is needed to process transactions and settle funds into the agency's bank accounts and of the fees paid to a processor, about 93% are passed through interchange fees from the payment card networks, such as Visa and MasterCard, while the other 7% of the fees are true processing fees paid to the processor, and that's to secure and settle the funds into our bank accounts. Board approval authorizes the contracted processor rates and fees that will be applied to actual revenue processed and is subject to annual budget authorization. I'll discuss this in more detail later in the presentation. And although the agency's credit card expenses are significant, the majority of the cost is the interchange fee charged by the credit card companies, and it reflects the agency's success in collecting revenue. Next slide. Each agency processes approximately 200 million in credit card revenues annually, and the total credit card fees paid per agency are approximately 3.8 million. Of the 3.8 million, processing costs are $278,000. These processing costs are a requirement of the agency's ability to collect toll revenue of 400 million annually, and while the costs are significant in total, it's a reflection of our increased road usage and an increase to our customer base. Funding for processing services is included in each agency's proposed budget, and amounts are paid based on contracted rates and applied to actual revenue transactions processed. Next slide. These services were last competitively bid in 2015, and the agency selected the current processor, which is Chase Payment Tech, and authorized a 3-year contract with options for 3 one-year extensions. The final 1-year extension is the one that expires on June 30th, 2021. This fiscal year, we issued an RFP on September 25th, 2020. The proposals were due on October 20th, and the proposal evaluations were completed at the end of November. Next slide. 15 firms downloaded the RFP packet, and of these, 2 firms submitted proposals: Payment Tech, a division of JP Morgan Chase Bank, and Payzang, which is affiliated with Wells Fargo Bank and Fiserv. The agency's contracts department reached out to the remaining firms who downloaded the packet but did not submit a proposal, and some firms indicated that they could not be as competitive in their rates as processors who are part of a large bank, and others indicated staffing capacity issues. Both proposals were responsive, and staff conducted a benchmarking analysis as well of other agencies' costs that confirm that the proposed rates are consistent with market rates, which I will discuss later in the presentation as well. Next slide. A comparison of the 2 proposals highlights that Payment Tech ranked first. Additionally, all pricing categories were much less with Payment Tech, specifically with the credit card processing items, which are the most material pieces of the processing fee, since the agencies process about 10.2 million credit card transactions annually, compared to about 300,000 annually for ACH. Payment Tech's cost to process a card transaction is 3 cents, whereas Payzang is at 16 cents, plus an additional markup on the pass-through interchange fees. Next slide. This results in an estimated savings over the 3-year contract term and the 3-year options of approximately 10.7 million with Payment Tech, which is more than 81% less than Payzang. Payment Tech's competitive proposal includes an additional discount from their current rates, which saves the agencies approximately $50,000 annually. And additionally, as I mentioned earlier, staff conducted a benchmarking analysis. Compared to the next best rates, Payment Tech saves the agencies $170,000 annually and over $1 million during the stated contract term. Our contracted rates also include tokenization to maximize customer payment data security, which is not something that a majority of other agencies appear to do from our benchmarking analysis. And this allows a token to replace actual payment information so that there is no personally identifiable information that's maintained. Chase Bank is the largest bank in the United States and processes over $1.5 trillion in payments annually. Next slide. As I mentioned earlier, board approval authorizes the contracted processor rates and fees that will be applied to our actual revenue process and is subject to annual budget authorization. We're contracting with the processor for negotiated rates and fees for their processing services, and the contract is structured this way because the majority of the credit card expense is the interchange pass-through from the credit card companies and is dependent upon the revenue processed and the various types of cards that customers use. Next slide. So staff is requesting the board approve the following for both agencies, to authorize the CEO to execute contract K001358 with Payment Tech for processing services for the 3-year term beginning on July 1st, with the options to extend for up to 3 additional 1-year terms at the CEO's discretion. And as I stated before, the amounts payable are based on actual transactions processed. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Ferrer, and I appreciate that report. It's great to hear about savings again. And we will look at this first with the San Joaquin Hills board members. Are there any San Joaquin Hills board members who have any questions? You can raise your hand or speak up. I don't see any raised hands. So I hear no questions. Would one of the members of San Joaquin Hills like to make a motion?
This is Cynthia. Oh, this is I make a motion that we instruct the staff to go ahead with this contract, or is this just to receive and file?
There is recommended action here, so.
I move the recommended action. This is Cynthia.
Thank you, Director Connors. And is there a second?
I'll second, Director Reynolds.
And a second by Director Reynolds. And Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll of the San Joaquin Hills vote?
Chair Kelly,
Yes.
alternate Goebel,
Yes.
Director Connor,
Yes.
Director Heft,
Yes.
Director Hurt,
Yes.
Director James,
Aye.
Director Khan,
Yes.
Director Minigar,
Aye.
Director Penaloza,
Yes.
Director Reynolds,
Yes.
Director Taylor,
Yes.
Director Wagner.
Aye.
Noting the recusal of Vice Chair Will O'Neill and the recusal of Director Vixerick, the item passes unanimously.
Thank you. We'll now look at the Foothill Eastern Board recommendation. There is a recommended action there as well. And do any of the Foothill Eastern directors have any questions?
Madam Chair, this is Scott Boyce from Lake Forest. I'd like to move staff recommendation.
There is a motion by Director Voigt. Is there a second?
Second, Director Miller.
Second by Director Miller. And any discussion? And I'll ask the clerk to please take a roll call vote.
Chair Wong,
Aye.
Vice Chair Miller,
Aye.
alternate Goebel,
Yes.
Director Beal,
Aye.
Director Chafee,
Aye.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Khan,
Yes.
Director Lombard,
Yes.
Director Murphy,
Yes.
Director Trevor O'Neill,
Aye.
Director Penaloza,
Yes.
Director Taylor,
Yes.
Director Voigt,
Yes.
Director Wagner,
Aye.
Director Ward.
Aye.
The item passes unanimously.
Okay, that motion has passed. We'll now move on to item number 14. This is the Oso Bridge Project Closeout Amendment to Cooperative Agreement, and this is a Foothill Eastern item only. So I'll ask for that staff report by Chief Engineer Dave Spears.
Thank you, Director. Good morning, Chair Kelly and Chair Wong and directors. My name's Dave Spears, Chief Engineer and Environmental Planning Officer for the agencies. This item before you this morning was presented to the Joint Capital Programs and Projects Committee on January 27th, and the committee unanimously recommended it for approval by the Foothill Eastern Board of Directors. Next slide, please. The location of the project is well known to many of you, but for those that might not be familiar, it's the blue rectangle on the bottom right side of this image, and it's at the intersection of Oso Parkway and the 241 freeway. Next slide, please. So this is a before and after view of the project looking south. On the left-hand side, you can see what the project looked like about 2 years ago with Oso Parkway on an earthen embankment. And on the right side of the view, you see what it looks like today with the bridge in place and the lanes passing underneath the bridge. I want to note that this project was completed through a very strong partnership between TCA, Caltrans, and the County of Orange. The county provided construction management services throughout the construction phase, and today's presentation pertains to the remaining work that's necessary to finalize the project. Next slide, please. We held the grand opening for the project on January 13th. Many of you board members participated, and it was a great opening. And there are still remaining activities to be completed, even though to most drivers it appears that the project's 100% completed. I want to highlight the remaining activities. First of all, there's punch list items. As is typical for a highway construction project, Caltrans performs a field review once the project is substantially completed, and they produce a punch list of items that they would like us to address. I'll provide some examples on the following slides. Second item is a construction claim. It's not uncommon on a large construction project that the contractor may submit a claim after the work is done, and we have received a claim on this project, so there'll be a process to resolve that claim. Item 3 on the list, final project documentation. This is really completing the record drawings and closeout activities required and requested by Caltrans. Next slide, please. So this slide shows some images of the types of punch list items that have been identified. The photos on the upper left and center of the slide show locations of guardrail that Caltrans has requested that we provide some modifications to extend the length of the guardrailing. Caltrans design guidelines periodically go through updates, and in this case, the updated guidelines for guardrailing were adopted by Caltrans during the construction phase of this project, and they identified some opportunities and requested that we look at extending the length at several locations. In addition, Caltrans also updated some of their standards regarding crash attenuators. So you can see on the top right corner, there's a crash attenuator or a crash cushion that's called a smart cushion. They've requested that we add one of these at one location in the project. And finally, the bottom right photo, you can see that yellow arrow. There's a water quality basin that was constructed, and you can see in the picture as part of the project, and they've requested that we add some guardrailing along the limits shown in this image. So this is a sample of the kinds of things that come up post-construction, and we're working actively right now to resolve and finalize these features. Next slide, please. So we have received a construction claim, and this photo is a picture of the bridge, the first half of the project that was built on the northern half of the structure. And after substantial completion of the project, the contractor did submit a claim about work that he had to conduct during the completion of the project. And in order to resolve this claim, TCA will require support from county staff who oversaw the construction activities, as well as some support from the designer of record who designed the bridge. I want to note that receiving a claim is not uncommon for a construction project, and there's provisions in our contract for the process to be followed for resolving the claim. Next slide, please. So the remaining slides of the presentation pertain to the additional funding that is being requested in order to close out the project. I want the board to be aware that we have sufficient funding in our FY21 budget to cover these additional funds. But what we're seeking today is contract authorization within that budget. Yeah, so I'll go to the next slide and we'll highlight the activities that are necessary. So for the work that the county is performing for us, the construction engineering management, there's two areas. The first two items listed here, construction management to close out the punch list items and project closeout activities that I've mentioned. And then further down, the 150,000 pertains to anticipated efforts that we would need support from county staff as we work to resolve the construction claim. The construction management team does have detailed records and direct knowledge of the circumstances surrounding the claim, and as such, they are able to provide valuable assistance in this process of closeout. Next slide, please. Each of the punch list items requires some participation by the designer of record, developing updated plans, coordinating with Caltrans to finalize approval of those plans, and then implementing them in the field. So pursuant to closing the punch list, we've estimated $30,000 for support for the designer, T.Y. Lin, and additional $30,000 related to them supporting the resolution of the construction claim. Next slide, please. So the recommendation before you is to authorize the CEO to amend the Oso Bridge Project Cooperative Agreement to address the items noted for the amount of $320,000. Item 2 is a 10% contingency regarding item number 1. And item 3 is to authorize the CEO to amend the task order with the designer, T.Y. Lin, in the amount noted, $60,000. That concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Spears. Foothill board members, do you have any questions? I see a raised hand by Director Taylor. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you for your report. Does the $320,000 only include construction management, or does it also cover the actual cost of the handrail replacements and the various items that are on the punch list?
It pertains only to the construction management and the claim support items that I identified. There is a separate budget available to pay for the construction cost, and we're well within budget on that. So we're not asking for any additional funds pertaining to the cost to install these additional guardrail items.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I see a hand by Director Miller, or Vice Chair Miller.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Taylor's question just raised a question for me. So what is the policy, since we have budget for construction left over, that we can handle the additional cost of the materials? If we have additional, what happens to that budget if we come in under our budgeted amount? What happens to the money in the budget if we come in under our budgeted amount on this project? I guess that's for Amy, Ms. Potter.
Ms. Potter?
Casey,
Yeah, thank you for the question. Thank you for the question, Director Miller. I will ask our CFO, Ms. Potter, to respond.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
I'm sorry, the question is, Director Taylor just brought up a good point that this is only for construction management, but we have a separate budget for construction and we are well within that budget, which leads me to believe that there's going to be money left over there. But before we wrap this project up, what happens to that money at the end of the project if there's a surplus in that budget?
Oh, okay, yes, sorry. So yes, so we do not carry funds over. So basically it just stays in that pool of cash, which is part of our unrestricted funds.
Okay, so it rolls back into the unrestricted account.
That's correct.
So we can actually take a look at this when we report out that at this point we have to move funds into the construction management side, but theoretically we could have just moved it out of the construction side into project management. Is that correct? Do we have a?
So Director Miller, just to clarify, so in terms of the budget, what the board is authorized is adequate for the entire project. We're only asking for contract authority under this item. What the board authorized us to use the county for had a specific cap, which we will exceed with this additional work that Mr. Spears has identified. So we need contract authority for that.
So we're not actually out, we're doing basically what I said. We're going to move funds from one budget to another to cover this. We're not asking for additional funds for the project.
Correct. There's one budget for the overall project, and we're working within that one budget.
Okay, all right, that's all I had. But it would go back to, when we're done, if we come in under budget, we go back to into the unrestricted.
Yeah, yes, any unspent funds will just remain within our unrestricted cash balance.
Got it, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Miller. Are there any other directors with questions or comments? And if not, I will entertain a motion from Foothill.
Moved O'Neill.
This is a motion by Trevor O'Neill. Is there a second?
John Taylor, a second.
Second by Director Taylor. And I will ask the clerk to do a Foothill Eastern roll call vote.
Chair Wong,
Aye.
Vice Chair Miller,
Aye.
Alternate Goebel,
Yes.
Director Beal,
Aye.
Director Chafee,
Aye.
Director Kelly, Director Khan,
Yes.
Director Lombard,
Yes.
Director Murphy,
Yes.
Director Trevor O'Neill,
Aye.
Director Penaloza,
Yes.
Director Taylor,
Yes.
Director Voigt, Director Wagner,
Aye.
Director Ward,
Aye.
looping back, Director Voigt. You may be
Director
on mute.
Boyce, yes, yes, I'm here. Yes.
Thank you. Madam Chair, the item passes unanimously.
Thank you. That motion has passed, and we will now go to item number 15, which is contracts and procurement services, policies and procedures manual, our CAPS manual revisions. This is a joint Board of Directors item, and I will ask for the staff report now by Mike Chesney, our Chief Strategy Officer.
Chair Kelly. Good morning, Chair Kelly and members of the boards. Mike Chesney, Chief Strategy Officer of TCA. And this item is to request approval for revisions and clarifications to the agency's contracts and procurement services, policies and procedures manual, or more commonly referred to as our CAPS manual. And our CAPS manual is our guidance document that details how the agencies enter into contracts for professional services and routine business expenses. It's a very dynamic document, and we periodically update and clarify the CAPS manual to efficiently and effectively conduct activities related to contracting while taking into consideration applicable laws and regulations. Further changes and modifications by the Joint Strategic Planning Committees were incorporated along with recommendations by our legal counsel. This item was reviewed by the Joint Contracts Ad Hoc on October 22nd, 2020, and on November 19th, 2020, and unanimously approved by the Joint Strategic Planning Committee on January 28th, 2021 for recommendation for consideration by the Joint Boards of Directors. With that, next slide. Our first item for consideration is purchase and sale of real property. Here, delegation of authority to execute other contracts. What you see, and you'll see this on other slides that I'll be presenting, what's highlighted in blue is shown as either clarifications, additions to the existing policy, or new verbiage that we'd like to add to the CAPS manual. And here for delegation of authority to execute other contracts, we just wanted to add that the CEO or designee has the authority to execute contracts on behalf of TCA that are not primarily intended to cover delivery of goods or services, including agreements for purchase, sale, or transfer of real property, in addition to the other items listed. All these, I will note, are CEO authority is up to $25,000 per agency. Next slide. This is in regards to, again, delegation of authority to execute other contracts. And we wanted to add this verbiage that the CEO or their designee is authorized to enter into contracts up to $25,000 per agency for disposition of surplus land without separate board approval, provided the CEO determines that this transaction meets Government Code Section 54220. Next slide. In the event of an emergency, we do have emergency authorization for the CEO, and the clarifications you see here are to add the item of issuing purchase orders, and also to show that in case there's an emergency on any of our properties owned by TCA, and we added the clarification to protect operations of critical TCA functions or activities. Quickly, examples of situations that have required quick emergency authorizations include, for instance, we have had trees on our Saddle Club mitigation property fall across a county road, which required us to mobilize quickly some tree removal services. And we are always ready in case there's any damage to any of our on-road toll collection systems, including flooding, fires, or electrical system issues. Next slide. This is for routine business expenses, service or lease terms. And there's going to be a number of slides that we will address items related to routine business expenses. And just wanted to emphasize here that routine business expenses, or RBEs, are intended to be typical, routine, mundane business and office operational expenses. Examples are printing services, landscape, pest control, janitorial, parking lot sweeping, trash and waste management. These are all typical office operational expenses that we incur regularly. And these are all listed in our quarterly procurement reports that are provided to the boards. I also would like to note that any major consulting or professional services procurements and contracts are always brought through a formal procurement and brought to the boards for approval. So on this slide 37, the recommendation is to increase our value of contract, including change orders and amendments, to $150,000 per agency in a fiscal year, and $550,000 from $300,000 for the life of the contract. And I have some examples that I would like to show you next. Next slide. So on this slide 38, this matrix shows some of the typical standard office operational costs that we incur, database software costs, fulfillment, packaging, DMV lookup, and janitorial services. Currently, some of these we need to bring to the board because they are exceeding our RBE limits. And you see the annual cost totals there, along with a 3-year cost total as an example. So we are exceeding the thresholds of existing RBE limits. And our thought is that by increasing these RBE limits, we would be able to, again, execute some of these typical standard office operational costs without coming back to the board. The last item that I have highlighted in green there, the CenturyLink L3 voice and data services. This is just an example to show, even with the increased limits that are proposed here for RBE limits, we would still need to come to the board for items such as this because they simply are larger than the suggested increases. Next slide, please. In terms of service or lease terms, we are suggesting with this change for service or lease terms or extensions that we have limited to currently 12 consecutive months, we are proposing an exception that software licensing agreements and lease agreements customary for office equipment such as photocopiers, scanners, printers, and et cetera, that we do not exceed 36 consecutive months. And for example, bringing a lease agreement for copiers for the office every year to the board feels like it's a pretty typical routine business expense. And with this change, we'd be able to handle that once every 3 years. Next slide. And here again, annual maintenance and licensing costs. The suggestion here is to not aggregate the actual original purchase of any software or item costs with the annual maintenance and licensing costs that happen in subsequent years. And the thought here is if we have a purchase, let's say for a software that is up to the RBE limit, the annual licensing costs may push it over that limit and we'd have to bring that back to the board every year. So we wanted to split those up and track the actual original cost of the purchase for those items in one contract and then track the licensing and maintenance costs, the annual costs separately in a separate contract so that we could then stay within the RBE limits that are proposed. Next slide. These were actual changes that were suggested by the Joint Strategic Planning Committee when we brought it for their review and approval. And what it is intending is that staff shall present to the boards any change order that causes an RBE to exceed the original authorized limits. We would bring that to the board. And subsequently, any items, any RBE contracts that are awarded on a multi-year basis, we would provide to the board a midpoint check-in assessment on the performance of that RBE contract. Next slide. Now we want to switch to evaluation committee member anonymity. We wanted to add this new policy to the CAPS manual to define and protect evaluation committee member anonymity. And so here, because the public interest served by protecting the anonymity of evaluation committee members clearly outweighs the public interest served by disclosure, evaluation committee members' evaluator identification numbers will remain confidential as permitted by Government Code Section 6255A. Next slide. The evaluation committee members must be able to perform the evaluation without either fear or improper influence, harassment, or personal attack before, during, and after the evaluation. And they must be free to score the proposals and or interviews on content. And this is particularly true with respect to any outside experts that may serve as an evaluator at TCA. Next slide, excuse me. In terms of external subject matter experts, this is again a new verbiage, new policy that we would like to add to the CAPS manual. And here we are suggesting to add TCA may require the participation of external subject matter experts to serve on specific procurements as an evaluation committee member, and those involving specifically professional services, including consulting and management services. The CEO or their designee shall determine whether an external subject matter expert would be beneficial for a specific procurement. Next slide. The external subject matter expert evaluator may be from a public agency or one of our TCA's member agencies. And additionally, if determined most appropriate, this external subject matter expert may be requested from private industry. And examples, consulting firms contracted to TCA as part of our in-house program management services and staff extension, or a specialized organization such as a non-governmental planning organization. And finally, the last line there, they can also be technical advisors, which means non-scoring evaluators or as a typical scoring evaluator. Next slide. And finally, in all instances, TCA staff will assess the qualifications of these available external subject matter experts to ensure that these selected individuals has the requisite knowledge and expertise to serve on our evaluation committees. And another suggestion that came up from our joint strategic planning committee review was that board members shall not participate on any procurement evaluation committee unless expressly requested by the board chairs or relevant board chair if the procurement is issued only by one agency. And finally, all external subject matter expert evaluators will be required to adhere to TCA's conflict of interest policy. I think that's enough. Can I see the next slide? Yeah, so going back, if you could go back, Wendy. This item for the external subject matter experts, this was done so that clarifications were needed in order to get evaluation committee members comfortable and willing to volunteer and participate on TCA's procurements and participate on our evaluation panels. So with that, the next slide. Again, this is the recommendation. This item was unanimously approved by our Joint Strategic Planning Committee for recommendation for consideration by the boards of directors. And with that, I can answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chesney. And as a reminder, directors, this is a recommendation coming from the Strategic Planning Committee, these revisions or clarifications, and it also, these changes have been based on input by the Joint Contracts Ad Hoc Committee, who considered the changes at 2 different meetings. So these are the recommendations before us at this point. This is a joint item, and I will first look at the San Joaquin Hills board members and see, do we have any questions by the San Joaquin Hills board members? Please raise your hand or speak up if you have any questions.
How many contracts fall in the category between the 300,000 and now what you're proposing is 550,000 in regards to Part 1, Section 8.0?
Mr. Chesney?
Yes, Director James, I will ask Colleen Franco, she's our Director of Contracts and Procurement, to see if we have that number available. If not, we can certainly get back to you on that. Colleen, do you have a number of that question?
Currently, we don't have any active contracts that would fall under that category.
Madam Chair.
Johnson, go ahead.
So, Mr. Chesney, would the items you had on your example slide, would those not be the items that would, as we move forward, should the board adopt these changes, would they not fall into that category?
That is correct.
Right. So as it stands, so as it stands now, Director James, anything that exceeds those current thresholds, if we have a contract for it, it's been brought to the board for your approval. And the examples that Mr. Chesney showed are items that have come to the board that fit the description and what we've identified as the intent of the board's policy, that would now, as we move forward, should the boards approve it, fall under that RBE policy.
Mr. Chesney, can we go back to that slide for just a moment?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other directors have questions?
Director Reynolds, I had just a couple of quick questions.
Go ahead.
The very first item, I'm not sure I understood the recommended change on the surplus land. Could you just explain the need for that?
Sure. Can we go back to that slide, Wendy? So Director, is that Director Reynolds?
Yes.
Yeah, so is this the slide you were alluding to?
Yeah, this one and the next one, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we've had instances of some surplus land transactions happening, and I'll also note under the $25,000 limit. And this was just to clarify, to actually put that actual verbiage in this policy so that we have that covered. We just wanted to just make it clear and just make sure that it was defined in the policy.
Okay. Sorry if I'm not understanding this correctly. Is this a pathway to sort of change ownership of surplus land? And I think
Correct.
I'm perplexed because, you know, where can you get land here for $25,000?
Yeah, I can give some examples. For instance, in 2018, we had a parcel of land that was sold back to the city of Newport Beach, and it was for $12,500. It was for quick claiming of an easement, and it was a parcel of land near the 73 MacArthur Boulevard. Another example is there was a small parcel of land near Talega that was sold to the Santa Margarita Water District for utility improvement, and that was for $2,000. So we're talking small sliver of land transactions.
Okay, very small. Okay. And then just a clarification on the recommendations related to the evaluation committee and anonymity there. I know we present the sort of outputs in terms of scoring of contract or bids as part of that evaluation. The scoring would remain fully transparent and part of staff reports. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is correct.
Okay.
The scoring will be shown on our procurement summary reports.
Great. Thank you.
This is Director Ward. Can I ask a question?
This is San Joaquin Hills. We will be looking at.
Oh, thank you. I'll wait. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Kelly, this is Director Miller, and I tend to bring this up at a lot of meetings, but this is the exact same item for both boards, and I think it's important that we be able to discuss this as at the same time, because San Joaquin members may want to hear what Foothill has to say about this before they vote. And I think it's kind of awkward if they vote to approve and then Foothill Eastern comes back and votes not to approve because we had a different position on it. I think it's good for both boards to hear it before we vote.
Okay, Director Ward, did you want to make a comment or a question?
Yes, I would. And I think I agree with Director Miller. I think this is how we used to do it in the past, and I think that's why I kind of jumped in. It does help for us to all discuss it if it's the same item. My only question is with something that I heard. With the increase up to 550,000, I think it was mentioned that there's no current contract that we have that we need to raise this amount to. So I'm wondering why we're putting in a balance there of 550,000. That's a lot of money if there's no contract that we're thinking of.
Okay, and I'll ask CEO Johnson to comment on that, please.
So Director Ward, to clarify my statement, I was saying there's no contract currently under RBE policy, right? So anything that exceeds the current thresholds authorized by the board, which is for the 3-year period of, I believe it's 300,000, if I recall that right, Mr. Chesney?
Correct.
Any item that exceeds those thresholds that are in place today would have already come through the board. Now, the examples that Mr. Chesney shows on the previous slide, if we can go there, or the next slide, those show the things that we have brought to the board because they exceeded the RBE thresholds. With the proposed changes, if the board were to adopt them, then these would not have to come to the board for approval. They would be part of your RBE policy.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify how I heard that we have no contract. So, okay, thank you.
I have an additional question in regards to anonymity. Has that been a problem in the past that's been identified that people have not had anonymity?
Director James, if I may, Madam Chair. So we have experienced some challenges. You know, from my perspective as your current CEO, making sure our evaluators are focused on doing the best job they can in evaluating proposals is extremely important. And if those evaluators are more concerned about how they may come under pressure by their scores being identified, that is problematic in our ability to do the work. That problem is magnified when it comes to external evaluators, because that is a volunteer involvement. TCA does not pay external evaluators. So we're asking a staff from the city of San Clemente, if they can participate on a panel for us, they are stepping away from their normal work, and the city is allowing them to support TCA. If we want to be able to use external evaluators, we have to be cognizant of those concerns as well, and make sure we're not shooting ourselves in the foot by saying that, however they score, that they can become a target. So we have had some challenges in that regard, and I'm happy to provide you a briefing with that offline.
Yeah, I think I like that. I mean, it just appears to me, Mr. Johnson, every point you made, is probably a valid. It is a valid point, and I accept. My issue is how we balance that with the need for transparency.
So to be clear, Director James, we're not talking about keeping the evaluator names anonymous. If the board members want to know who sat on an evaluation panel, we can share that. What we're talking about is not providing the linkage between an evaluator and how they scored.
And I understand. I totally understand that, and I accept what you're saying there. But it just appears to me, if you're going to be an evaluator, you need to put your big boy and big girl pants on and take the heat. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments at this time?
Madam Chair, just a quick question.
Go ahead.
Mike, can you go back to the chart that had the contracts on it that we were talking about?
Mm-hmm.
So these have historically always come to the board, correct?
Correct.
So I guess my question is, how often will they ultimately come back to the board? We've run into contracts in the past that have had 20 addendums to them because we've used the same provider for years. By doing this, it looks like the exact same thing could happen. This looks like something that I don't really have a problem with increasing the value, because most of this stuff it's going to get done anyway. But I think we do need to have it come back to the board occasionally, so we can take a look at what's going on, make sure it is being sent out to be rebid, or we put a policy. Is there any discussion about that strategic?
Yes.
So Director Miller, this is Samuel Johnson. First, to clarify, all these items have not always come to the board. As you can imagine, over time, as costs increase, that has triggered the need for them to come to the board. And some have come to the board because of changes in our processes. I can speak directly to item 2 on this list, the transponder fulfillment packaging. Prior to our conversion to 6C, the packaging we used to mail those to customers was fairly simple and the cost was minor. But those on the board who received a 6C sticker from the agency, you might recognize that comes in a fairly fancy envelope, some packaging, which cost us more than the old packaging. That change triggered an increased cost, which forced that item to come to the board. In terms of things that could grow over time, our RBE policy is a 1-year policy. So we only issue contracts for 1 year. We may reissue that contract to the same provider for up to 3 years, or to the maximum allowed under your thresholds. So you will not have a situation similar to what you noted that we have when we use consulting contracts or those large multi-year contracts, where there may be amendments over time that absolutely should come back to the board. But what we do in our RBE, in your RBE policy differs.
Okay, I guess my point is, and you got the differentiation for me, but Oracle database software, as long as we're using Oracle, we're gonna have to deal with that, but occasionally that should be reviewed by this board. And so how is there a policy in place that says, and maybe Oracle may not be, janitorial services, let's use that one. So you've issued 5 extensions or amendments to their contract. At some point that should come back to the board, is for us to take a look at what's going on there to make sure that it is being bid out. That is our fiduciary responsibility to keep an eye on things like that. Is there a discussion about maybe after a 5th addendum to it, or 5th, they're on their 5th year, they're on their 6th year, whatever it happens to be, which makes sense, it comes back to the board just for review?
So your current policy, director, is these RBE contracts, we can only extend 2 times for the maximum of 3 years. If the board wants to weigh in on something like janitorial services, we can absolutely adjust and bring that type of item to the board if that is your desire.
So hold on. So did you just say that our Oracle database software is only for 1 year? We can only extend that twice for a maximum of 3 years?
Correct. Right. Then we have to look at and maybe the focus is more on who we're getting those licenses from.
Yeah, I was going to say that it doesn't sound, to me, I'd rather have a discussion offline about Oracle. That doesn't seem like that's a contract that should be in this discussion. I mean, that's a much larger overall expenditure for this agency, and it's strategic to us. I mean, they're our database provider. You know, ordering janitorial services and people providing 6Cs and doing lookup, that's a little bit different. And I understand that, but maybe that's where I kind of got hung up on it. But I understand what you're saying now. So I understand, you know, on that. But I do want to say on this external evaluator policy, I used to be on strategic, and we talked about this. I'm not on it anymore, so I'm not sure what happened in the last meeting. But that was important to this agency because we never had a policy about how we selected those folks. And I thought it was important, and I pushed on it, and I'll admit it, I kind of drove that. But it was important for this agency to have a policy on how we go about doing that. It wasn't so much about who they are, but just so we could say, for transparency's sake, this is how they were selected. And this is every time we select one, this is the process we go through to provide that. So I do want to say thank you for strategic to continue pushing that forward, because ultimately it provides another layer of protection for our agency, and that was important to me. But with that, I don't really have any other questions. Thanks. Other than
Thank you, Vice
offline about more, I find that strange, but okay.
Okay, thank you. And I think that a lot of what we're looking at is will enhance our efficiency. All right. If there are no further questions, I would entertain a motion from the San Joaquin Hills Board. Is there a motion?
John Taylor will make the motion.
Thank you, Director Taylor. Motion. Is there a second?
I'll second Director Penaloza.
Director Penaloza seconds. And I'll ask the clerk to please do a roll call vote of the San Joaquin Hills Board.
Chair Kelly,
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Neill, Will
Yes.
O'Neill,
Yes.
Alternate Goebel,
Yes.
Director Connors, Director Hess,
Yes.
Director Hurt,
Yes.
Director James,
No.
Director Khan,
No.
Director Minigar,
Aye.
Director Penaloza,
Yes.
Director Reynolds,
Yes.
Director Taylor,
Yes.
Director Vic Sorick,
Aye.
Director Wagner.
Aye.
Looping back, Director Connors. Noting the absence of Director Connors, the item passes 11 to 2.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now, this is a joint item and we have had some discussion by Foothill Eastern board members. Are there any other questions by Foothill Eastern board members? If not, I will entertain a motion on behalf of Foothill Eastern.
This is Peggy Huang. I will move the item.
Director Chafee
There's a
seconds.
motion. And a second by Supervisor Chafee. Thank you. And any further discussion? Madam Clerk, will you please make a roll call vote?
Chair Wong,
Aye.
Vice Chair Miller.
Aye.
Alternate Goebel,
Yes.
Director Beal,
Aye.
Director Chafee,
Aye.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Khan,
No.
Director Lombard,
Yes.
Director Murphy,
Yes.
Director Trevor O'Neill,
Aye.
Director Penaloza,
Yes.
Director Taylor,
Yes.
Director Voigt, Director Wagner,
Aye.
Director Ward,
No.
looping back, Director Voigt. Noting the absence of Director Voigt, the item passes 12 to 2.
Thank you. So that item has passed, and we now go on to item number 16, strategic vision to strategic planning. Directors, I will admit that I'm honored to be conducting the meeting for this item. We do have a unique opportunity in front of us that would have been envied by past boards. Not only do we get to wear our regional hats, but we also get to do a little bit of blue sky thinking about the future and the value that we as leaders can bring to our South Orange County community. There is no vote on this item, but our staff is requesting feedback. So after the presentation is complete, I'm going to ask the clerk to see if anyone has any questions or comments. And I do want everyone to have an opportunity after we've heard the report, and I will ask you to be brief.
Madam Chair, this is Scott Voigt from Lake Forest.
Yes.
I tried on that last item number, I tried to unmute and I turned the phone off, but I want to say a yes for that vote. If I can, please record that. Madam Clerk.
Okay. Okay, noted. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
May we have the presentation on item number 16, please?
Chair Kelly, members of the board, my name is Mike Chesney, again, Chief Strategy Officer for TCA. This item is for presentation and discussion only regarding the agency's strategic vision to strategic planning process. This is an introduction of an overall high-level discussion and framework of how we take our next steps in turning some of the key outcomes and messages from the initial vision planning effort into actionable strategic planning goals. This item was reviewed by the Joint Vision Planning Ad Hoc on December 10th, 2020, and subsequently approved by the Joint Strategic Planning Committee on January 28th, 2021, to recommend for presentation and discussion only by the Joint Boards of Directors. With that, I'll turn it over to our CEO, Mr. Johnson, to begin our presentation.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chesney. Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, directors. I think we still have a few minutes left in the morning. I wanted to provide a little context for consideration in your discussion of this item. As Madam Chair noted and Mr. Chesney also shared, you'll hear staff talk about this as a unique opportunity. And one question you may have is, well, how did we get here? So next slide. So you will often hear me speak to our success and the pride I have of serving as your CEO and looking back to our beginnings and the visionary leadership from the 1980s and how those leaders at that time took an approach of self-determination and self-reliance to ensuring that Orange County achieved the quality of life that we all enjoy today. The maturity of our agency and the decisions made by the boards in 2013 and 2014 started the next chapter of our history and established the foundation of success that we have today. The decisions by those boards to leverage historically low interest rates to ensure that we kept toll rates as low as possible, to ensure that we had a rainy day fund for challenges such as we're experiencing under the pandemic, and also to ensure that our debt profile aligned clearly with expectations of our future and our ability to pay down that structured debt on time per our commitments. The board's strong fiscal oversight since then and the policies you have put in place have bolstered those decisions. You have a clearly defined debt structure with secured payments. We know exactly what those payments are in each year, and we have a clear path to pay off that debt, which is highly regarded by the Wall Street rating agencies, as Ms. Potter noted earlier, who have consistently cited the agency's outlook and strength. Staff's execution within your policies have helped to save the agency over $600 million in recent years, and the cost efficiencies we've achieved by doing things such as moving to sticker transponders, going paperless, and utilizing innovative contracting have also helped to save the agency's money. Last but not least, the growth we have seen in our accounts for customers and the usage of our roads have increased our revenues. The combination of all these things have given this board flexibility that others have not, allowing you to consider how TCA can best continue to contribute to the quality of life we have here in Orange County. Next slide. So the item today is to support your discussions in this regard and for staff to share what we have already heard from you in light of the things that you want to be able to consider. Mr. Chesney and Ms. Potter will recap what we thought we heard from you and share the framework we have identified that will allow you to make those decisions in the future regarding how you want to manage your capital improvement program, how you want to look at those opportunities to pay down some of your debt early, other operational considerations, and then also the opportunities to support member agencies' efforts to further enhance mobility in their communities. Next slide. As noted by the chair and noted by Mr. Chesney, this item does not commit the board to any specific actions now or in the future, but your discussions and feedback will give staff the direction we need on how we proceed with our efforts to help the board get from this 35,000 foot level in vision down to some actual outcomes and tangible items with the overall outcome of this effort being the annual adoption of each board's distinct strategic plans. Those plans would have to fit within the framework. So we've tried to make sure we've identified a framework that encompasses the things you might consider. And again, this is not a commitment on anything that's in the framework, but it does provide the structure for you to work within. These strategic plans, once adopted, will give staff clear direction on your priorities and allow you to measure our progress in advancing your goals. We expect that each plan will use a 5 to 7 year horizon and be driven by our requisite financial considerations, as well as any policies, procedures, et cetera, that would accompany the framework. And with that, I'll hand it back off to Mr. Chesney.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Next slide, please. So in looking back on the initial visioning process, the board reviewed the TCA's history and formation and long-term capital needs balanced with strategies for fiscal stability and resilience. And that'll be a common theme that you'll hear throughout this is understanding and maintaining our fiscal stability and resiliency. We also did identify opportunities for supporting regional mobility, as well as opportunities for debt management, and we also looked at operational investment needs as well. And finally, we developed an initial financial framework to potentially support this initial vision. Next slide. Some of the key messages from this initial vision planning effort included understanding, again, that this is a unique opportunity that previous boards did not have the opportunity to consider. Our TCA's financial position can potentially help provide flexibility to consider future benefits to the region. And we must also recognize that the regional infrastructure needs will always continue to outpace available resources, especially referring to our member agencies' needs. TCA does have a willingness to partner on improved mobility in the region, again, looking at this with an eye towards our member agencies' infrastructure needs. However, the agencies have to first and foremost maintain a strong financial position to protect our market position and weather future economic impacts. Understanding this critical balance, we looked at developing a financial policies framework to support our initial vision. And I'll hand it over to Ms. Amy Potter, our CFO, to expand upon this.
Thanks, Mike. So what you have here is the overall financial framework that describes the revenue flow that fills the various reserves and the potential use of our unrestricted cash. And as discussed previously by our CEO, each agency will have its own strategic plan that may include different components or allocations of the various buckets. And so I'm going to start over on the left side of the screen, which is the flow of funds shown in purple. And this represents the revenues the agency collects less the operating expenses and the annual debt payments. And then you see there that we are required to have excess revenues in accordance with our bond indentures. And so that is what you see as the net there. And to the left of that flow, you see the various inputs, such as the policies that the board has set, such as our toll policy, revenue enhancements that we're always looking for, as well as operational efficiencies and debt management, such as the item that I presented earlier today that we just executed. And so all of those inputs impact that flow of funds. So before moving on to the bottom line, which is the unrestricted cash, I'm going to look right to the right of annual debt payments, and you see a green box there titled Restricted Cash Indentured Reserves. And so each agency has cash in accordance with its bond indentures that will just remain in place. It's been completely filled to the required amount of the obligation, and that will just stay there held for the bondholders. We don't anticipate needing to use those reserves, but they would be used if the agency was not able to make its bond payments. What we're really talking about here is the unrestricted cash. And so down to the bottom of the screen, right to the right of net in the green box, unrestricted cash, this represents the agency's additional reserves, or what we also refer to as our liquidity. And a very important component of that we will always want to maintain is a certain amount of cash that we would consider to be our liquidity reserve or our rainy day funds. And so you can see that we've designated where we'll keep some of that, and that always needs to stay there in place to help us. It came in very handy during the COVID pandemic, but those are the amounts of cash that we want to keep in addition to our required amounts in accordance with our bond indentures. So moving to the right would be the balance of the unrestricted cash. And so these are the various buckets that we see as potential uses of some of that cash. And so starting at the top, shown in kind of a rust color, you see that those are the agency's capital projects. And so this really, an example of that would be any of the agency system widening projects that we would need to do in the future. Some are nearer term, some may be very long term, as well as the 24191 connector. And actually that one I kind of see is going into the next category that I'll discuss as well, but it really is a TCA agency project. And currently our plan is to fund those projects with cash. And so that's why we've indicated there pay as you go. Right below that capital project box, you do see a dotted line box that says issue additional debt. The agency does have the ability to issue additional bonds for projects. However, in our current capital plan, that is not anticipated. Moving down to the next line, which is in orange.
Amy, I'm sorry, this is Director Ward. I have to ask a question on something that you just said. You talk about the 24191 connectors is funded by cash. Yes?
Yes.
Let's wait till the end of the presentation. Please take notes on what your questions are, and everyone will have an opportunity at the end, but I would like to have the full presentation before we entertain questions or comments.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So shown in orange, you see this new category, regional projects. And so what we're looking at here is there an opportunity to contribute something to projects that would benefit the agencies and our member agencies specifically, but also contribute something that may be a shortfall in a project that's not a TCA project. And so this could be in the form of either a direct contribution or a short-term loan. And that's where you see the dotted box there that says infrastructure bank, because what we're just saying there is that right now we're looking at that as the concept of the infrastructure bank, that we could actually make some short-term loans to help our member agencies with shortfalls in some of the projects that they have that are also beneficial to either the Foothill Eastern or the San Joaquin Hills. But it would be a loan, which then gets recycled back into the funds, or it could be in the form of an actual direct payment. Moving down to the next line, this is debt reduction. And the boards have expressed a very strong desire to pay down some of our bonds early. And so that would fall into this category. And then there's other things too, such as the transactions that we have conducted in the last several years, the refunding transactions where we've been able to reduce our payments. And then the last line shown in gray, this is an example of some other cash uses that we might determine make sense for each of the agencies. And a good example there is how each agency already paid off its unfunded pension liability. We used unrestricted cash to do that. Next slide. And so in addition to presenting you with the financial framework, there are a number of financial policies that we will work through. We have already worked with the board on the first two listed there, the toll rate setting policy as well as the debt management policy. And we would look to establish other policies as well, mainly related to our reserves and some of the items that I just discussed on the financial framework. So certainly establishing a liquidity reserve, an amount that we would maintain in addition to our bond indenture reserves, so a portion of our unrestricted cash that we would maintain. And then also potentially looking at how would we allocate some of the other funds towards some of the other items that were shown in the framework. And then the last item, there would also need to be policies related to the regional project category. And so with that, I will turn it back over to Mike Chesney.
Thank you, Amy. So regarding regional projects, one of the initial efforts we would need to begin would be to develop a comprehensive methodology to analyze and rank regional projects for consideration while supporting board recommendations. And some of the areas we would need to incorporate as part of the project bidding process includes the list of criteria shown here, such as legal and bond analysis. Partner agencies compatibility, want to just talk real quickly here. What we mean here is understanding how TCA could complement the already successful programs in place by OCTA and the county. Other things such as project metrics, what's the project nexus to the TCA system, funding criteria, community need, and funding approach is this important consideration as indicated by Ms. Potter, indicating whether we do a direct contribution to a project or a short-term loan. Next slide. In terms of strategic plan considerations, we plan to continue policy development to support our strategic plan, and we'll revisit TCA's capital program and review timing and resources as we continue to move through the COVID-19 issues and continue to monitor traffic and revenue recovery. Some of the immediate project needs we will look into here is listed the 24191 Express Connector, which is a priority for the agency, and we are ongoing with that project right now. And some other projects, the Loma segment widening and Catalina View widening that were put on hold due to the pandemic, but we'll be monitoring as traffic increases. And when it comes to regional project considerations, currently we're likely to be assessing 2 projects as we begin the development of an assessment methodology. And here you see listed the Los Patronos Parkway extension, as well as the Lower Ortega Highway widening. And I do want to note that before we bring anything back to the boards for your review and approval, we will need to get appropriate committee reviews and approvals as we continue to develop various policies and look at potential regional project opportunities. Next slide. So in closing, for broader discussions and key questions we wanted to ask, do we feel there is committee and board support for this next step of moving the vision and framework towards a strategic plan? Are there any adjustments or modifications that are required? And our anticipated next steps include this full board presentation as we're doing now, and a follow-on discussion and potential direction, and beginning the additional committee work required to review and consider policy development and adoption and development of a comprehensive project prioritization methodology. So with that, I can open it up for questions, or Mr. Johnson, if you would like to add anything before we open it up to the board.
No, thank you, Mr. Chesney and Madam Chair. So we'll turn it over to the board to have your discussion.
Thank you. And again, we do have unique opportunities in front of us now, and there is no vote on this item again, but the staff is requesting feedback. So what I would like to do is ask the clerk to call a roll so that if you have a question or a comment, you can make it at that time. And again, I'm going to ask you to be brief. Madam Clerk?
Chair Wong?
As a member of the committee, I look forward to everyone's comment today. Thank you.
Director Trevor O'Neill?
Thank you. I'm supportive. As was stated, we do have a unique opportunity, and we all know that funds are hard to come by these days, and the state certainly isn't doling out cash for us to improve our highway system. And any opportunity that we have to leverage money that comes to us courtesy of those who choose to pay the tolls that can go to improve transportation for the rest of the region, I think that's a win-win for everybody. Thank you.
Alternate Goebel?
Yes, Supervisor Bartlett supports the strategic plan, especially relative to regional projects, including the Ortega widening and the Los Patronos Parkway extension. Large projects like Los Patronos Parkway extension need to include the support of all stakeholders, which includes the TCA. Even though Los Patronos Parkway extension is a county-led, non-tolled project, it can benefit from TCA expertise and DIF revenue collected from the areas of benefit during the construction phase of the project. That's the comment. Thank you.
Director Chafee?
Thank you. I support the policy. I think it's well thought out, and it provides an opportunity to change things as we go forward. So thank you.
Vice Chair Miller?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm kind of torn on this one. I like what we're talking about. We should have a strategic plan about how we plan to move forward. I think there's some inconsistencies on should we create an infrastructure bank or should we be paying off debt? I don't think that's been well explained at this point. I don't know if we're just sending it back to strategic. I know they want.
It never went through.
I have some questions on that, but I think if we're really thinking about it, is there somebody speaking?
Sometimes when you have too many open.
We can hear you. There's someone whose microphone is on, but we can hear you. Go ahead and continue.
But I think, what we aren't talking about, and there's some questions about where we're going with this. If we start talking about infrastructure banks and loans versus participation, how does that affect us in 2053 when the bonds are paid off? If we have outstanding debt, how do we handle that? What happens to the agency in 32 years from now? We need to be having those discussions. I think strategic should also be talking about what happens to these roads. Do we turn them over to Caltrans and they continue to toll them and the money goes to Sacramento, or can we work out a deal with them where the money stays in Orange County? Do we look at our enabling legislation that allows us to turn it over to a regional partner instead of Caltrans? Even though the JPA says Caltrans, we've all seen that we can change our JPA with a vote. So, I mean, these are all conversations that need to be had, which I think will absolutely impact what we're talking about today. So I don't think we're ready with a strategic plan yet. I think we need deeper conversations about where we're ultimately going to go. I don't really look at Los Patrones as a strategic plan. That's a capital project if we decide to go for and participate in it. We've already identified projects that to me are out. Our strategic plan should be who are we going to be and how are we going to move forward. Infrastructure bank is definitely a strategic part of a strategic plan. So at this point, I like the direction we're going in. These are the conversations we need to be having. So I do support part of it. I think a lot of it is still far too vague, and we need to be discussing that, not just in strategic, but actually out in the open and finding out what's going on. I like strategic directing the conversation to a certain degree, but I like the conversation happening, and I hope it continues to go forward, but on a much broader basis on what we're going to look like in 32 years. Thanks.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Director Wagner?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and would generally associate myself with the comments made by Director Muller just a couple of seconds ago. On the right path, like the conversation and the opportunity this presents to us. I'm not sure I've got a whole lot more substantive at the moment. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Director Taylor?
Yes, thank you. For San Juan Capistrano, I like the direction that we're going in, assisting with the widening or the Ortega, possibly assisting with that, or also making the connection, helping with OCTA's connection on Los Patrones. Those things will help our community with the potential traffic in the future greatly. So I like the direction we're going. I know we're at the 35,000 foot level, and I'm looking forward to getting right into it. So thank you.
Director Penaloza? I do recall he did chat saying he had to fall off for a personal reason. Moving on, Director Reynolds?
Yeah, thank you. Digesting a lot, and I'm sure I'll have some questions and thoughts later too, but a few things that came to mind. I think absolutely, it makes sense to be thinking about our property in the context of broader regional mobility and contributing to improving mobility region-wide. This is a 5 to 7 year horizon, certainly in that time frame, but certainly beyond there. I do anticipate some substantive changes in what mobility means and how we get around with, the movement to electric vehicles, vehicle automation, the movement to working from home. And so I think it's important to be considering all of those potential long-term impacts and projections. And I'd encourage us not to just default to road widening as a solution to reduce traffic. So I hope some of those sort of research on those projections are part of the strategy. I also didn't hear anything about sort of the nexus between transportation and climate change issues or health issues. There was a big report that came out this week, I think, connecting vehicle emissions and health, the number of people who die directly connected to vehicle emissions. And I know that's not the charge of this board, but I do think it should be part of our visioning to at least consider sort of our part in that and how we might mitigate that connection. That's just it on the two topics I hadn't heard yet. Thank you.
Vice Chair Will O'Neill.
Yes, thank you. In addition to some of the comments made, I would like to just note again my belief that there's a fundamental difference between the Foothill Eastern Board and the San Joaquin Board when it comes to visioning. So when we are going through and creating policies based on that, I would like to make sure that the San Joaquin Board, their visioning is made sure to focus on our primary mission, which at this point is debt repayment. And so the slide that had a lot of the discussion about the finances that Amy was discussing is a good slide. Our policies that we've been adopting on toll rate increases and bond repayments and debt repayments are good policies. And I'd like to see and make sure that San Joaquin Board in particular focuses in on that and continues to do so through its visioning. Thank you.
Director Ward.
Yes, I think this was a good opportunity to look through all this. It was a good opportunity for me to look through all documents. I looked at the visioning of what was presented to the board last January. I came up with a couple takeaways. Our independent auditor for many years was KPMG, and for the background of the TCAs, both agencies. It says the agencies were formed in 1986 as a joint powers authority by the County of Orange and cities in Orange County, California, to provide traffic relief to Orange County through the construction and operation of toll roads. The agency was created to plan, design, finance, construct, and operate the Foothill, State Route 241 and Eastern State Route 241, 261, and State Route 133 toll roads. The agency's primary focus is the operation of the facilities and the collection of tolls to repay the tax-exempt revenue bonds that were issued to construct the toll roads. Our new auditor, Crow, said the exact same mission for our agencies. On our website, under leadership, it reads this: the Transportation Corridor Agencies are two joint power agencies, the Foothill Eastern Transportation Corridor Agency and the San Joaquin Hills Transportation Corridor Agency, formed in 1986 to plan, finance, construct, and operate state routes 73, 133, 241, and 261. So I believe the state gave us the ability to plan, design, construct, and operate two toll corridor systems. We were to build these two corridors and pay off our debt. That focus to pay off the debt is part of our independent financial audit for every year since our inception. I think if there is a project that has a nexus to one of our systems and it provides a substantial benefit to that system, we could stretch our visioning and that project should be considered. If TCA was to provide some support to a project that improves our system, there should be a correlation between the level of benefit to the system and the amount to be paid. For any other benefit or project improvement that does not have any nexus to the operations of our systems, I think we cannot fund those under our current agreements. Those projects have no nexus to our authority to build and operate our systems. If the boards do want to consider a complete change from our current agreements and fund any project within member cities that have no nexus to regional mobility of improving our system, the agency should go back to each member city and have them amend your charter. We are at a new time for our agency. In 2013, we refinanced the bonds and pushed out the payment of debt for an additional 13 years, and that action significantly lowered our payments. We've been able to bank those savings, and we find ourselves with cash for which we can fund projects that make our system better and pay off debt from construction of our systems. I think that this is a good time to provide each board a planning outline for each system. We need to see the complete picture. A timeline and a schedule would allow a clear picture of what each agency's obligations are and have a clear picture of opportunities for improvements to that system and opportunities to pay off the debt. That list, I believe if you had all the requirements that we're currently under, projects and payment of debt, all of those should be balanced out against the board priorities, and you should take your 5 to 7 year strategic planning items from that list that you make up. I think it is an opportunity also to reconsider some of the contracts TCA is in and has already negotiated and see if there is any benefit to renegotiate any contract that we are in for maintenance, environmental, whatever it is. And also evaluate some of the improvements that we have already agreed to that I don't know if the board knows that we have capital improvements we must make in the future. Are those still necessary, those improvements? Are there improvements that are more beneficial to the operations of our system? Any changes to future projects we have already agreed to will have to require study and coordination with our transportation partners, but perhaps there are other improvements to the system that better reflect present and future needs. So to wrap up, I believe we can pay for projects that have, I believe we cannot pay for projects that have no nexus or benefit to the quarter systems we are charged to operate. If the boards want to look at other projects outside the quarter benefit, TCA should go back to each member city and have them amend the charter they have with TCA. I do support studying a project that has a direct nexus of benefit in our operating system, but I believe the funds provided should have a correlation to the percentage of the benefit it provides to the system's operations. I am not going to be for, nor do I think our agreements allow us to be a bank for any mobility project that does not have a correlation to our system. Thank you. Those are my comments.
Director Beal?
Thanks. I'm fully supportive and believe really this is an absolute no-brainer. I think every well-run organization and agency needs to engage in this type of long-term strategic planning. In fact, I think it's our duty as representatives of our respective cities and agencies to do so. You know, it's our responsibility to set long-term policy, and that policy would reflect what our vision and planning is on a going forward basis long-term. So I think it's great that we are going through this process so that in the future, board members can always make fully informed decisions, knowing that all the different pros and cons have been thoroughly discussed and considered. I recognize every city, everyone that is a representative on this board, you come from an agency that may have different priorities, and that's great. And we need to engage in those type of discussions and consider all strategic policy potential policy directions. And that would include paying down debt. That's a strategic policy decision to the extent we're going to do it early, to what amount. And I'm all completely good with having those type of discussions. I don't see any inconsistency in what staff has presented today in moving forward now. I think that's part and parcel of what we would engage in from a vision and planning standpoint. We're looking to see from a policy standpoint, everything that impacts the TCA and what direction we're going to go so that we are making well-informed, long-term decisions. Again, I just don't see any inconsistency. I'm fully supportive and appreciate all the work that has gone into this by so many. Thank you.
Director Murphy?
Thank you. I think it's important to realize that there's a lot of work yet to be done. This is simply a framework for moving forward. There's a natural tendency to want to go to the end of the book rather than work all the way through this. And I think this is a great start. And I recognize the level of effort both by staff and colleagues on the board as well. So I'm supportive of this piece of the process, but as been pointed out earlier by others, there are questions about how to work and how to move forward and how to invest our resources and that balancing act between the retirement of debt and also projects that have a nexus to the toll road agencies. So I would just say congratulations on great first steps, but there's plenty of work to do still.
Director Connors?
Yeah, thank you. I find myself, I want to talk about the concept of mission creep, which is what Director Ward discussed at some length. I regret to say that I am not as familiar with the originating documents of our authority, our boards, our corridors, to confirm absolutely, as our public commenters always say to us, our goal is to organize, finance, build, maintain, and pay off the toll roads, and that's it. Because all of us are in favor of regional mobility issues. I think everybody in elected office tends to see their part as part of the bigger system. Not just in terms of regional transportation issues, but as was brought up with health issues, with environmental issues, and so forth. And so I think it's entirely natural that we try to look at the bigger picture. And if we are constrained in if our organizing documents constrain us against looking at regional mobility, which I think all of us really want to do, I think the concept of nexus is useful. I also think that, in my opinion, I would prefer to see us establish an infrastructure bank rather than commit our funds. I think it gives us more flexibility, and I think it keeps us more at a distance from projects which are not in the corridors themselves. And I want to thank the staff and the committee for doing the work to get us this far. That's it.
Director Lombard? Director Voigt? You may be on mute, Director Voigt.
I'm unmuted. Thank you. I agree with it. There's a lot to be done still for regional mobility. I believe the TCA has fulfilled a large part of what we have in Orange County as being the last piece of gold in the once golden state. I think that we have the ability to take vehicles off some of our major interchanges and bring them to the TCA roadworks. I think that the value that they present is not only in treasure, but it's in time. And I'd like to say that I'd like to include that we, as we move forward, that reduction is valuable. And I believe that we have to continue to move that way for responsibility to the people of Orange County. But in times where we're able to save enough and make good decisions, that we should try to reward the customers and the users of our toll lanes with maybe a race for a time, because the fact is that highways out there are not being utilized as heavily as they. Traffic is not as bad on the 405. So I think that to be a great value to the residents and the drivers, I think that we need to continue and look at ways we continue to improve the infrastructure of streets and highways we have here that attached to 4173. Thank you.
Director Hess?
Well, I just have a lot of appreciation for how hard staff works. I can't emphasize that enough. You just see that the just creative thought process and the just hard work and dedication. And I don't think they get enough credit for that. And I agree with the direction things are going. I think it's positive, and that's the way we should continue. So those are my comments.
Director Khan?
Thank you. I want to thank the staff for putting this together and providing information. I think it's a great start, but like many of my colleagues have commented, I think there's a lot more work to be done, especially when it comes to us loaning money to other agencies. I think our direction should be more towards paying off our debt, and I look forward to the committee reviewing these comments and getting back some of this information at a later date until we can review it even further. Thank you.
Director Minigar?
Thank you. I'm in overall agreement with the strategic vision. However, I have a couple of comments. The first one is we need to do some fine-tuning in reference to customization of the vision for San Joaquin Hills Transportation Corridor Agency. When I look, in the future, the needs of San Joaquin would be different than Foothill Eastern. And the second one, which in my view is the most critical one, is that in reference to debt management slash, reduction of, the debt overall. So we have to come up with some kind of system to be able to balance between the creation of the infrastructure bank as well as how we are going to be repaying, our debts. Thank you.
Director James?
So we go back to 1986 when our charter was plan, finance, construct, and operate Orange County toll roads. Much of this, I don't see that. I see this as typical, someone used the word mission creep, typical governmental mission creep. I really think our focus should be paying off our debt, taking the tolls off these roads, and going out of business. That's what we're meant to do. And, you have Caltrans, you have OCTA. They're very capable organizations. We're redundant. As it relates to being involved with the Los Patronos Parkway extension, that will send shockwaves through this city. Keep in mind, we're still litigants. And the fact that there's a possibility the TCA would be involved in building the Los Patronos Parkway makes the Los Patronos Parkway extension dead on arrival in this city. I would urge you not to get involved in that project. Those are my comments. I have concerns, but mainly I want to say we need to focus on paying off our debt and going on the business. Thank you.
Director Victoric?
Thank you. In order to try to provide some guidance to staff and in order to try to be brief as well, I think staff is aware that I share in the view that was expressed by Vice Chair O'Neill and Director Minigar in the separateness of the two boards, and that is something that needs to definitely be taken into account when we're looking at the visioning for the future. And I think they both of their comments were well put, well said as to what the effects of the divergence in potential interest between the boards are. So I'll just echo those comments and leave it at that. Thank you.
Director Hertz?
Thank you. Yes, I do like the direction. Number one, of paying down our debt. That is very important. Number two, but just being adaptable to the future needs of our region as it pertains to electric vehicles and just mobility of the region. So with that, that's my comments, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Director Chamberlain? Chair Kelly?
Yes, thank you, directors, each one of you for sharing your comments. And I'm sitting here with staff members and I see them furiously taking notes as each one of you has spoken. So again, I would just reiterate that we are in a unique position right now. We're in a great position. We have just been given a 35,000-foot level look, and there will be many, many conversations going forward. We are in a really good position right now. We've made a lot of great contributions to mobility of the region. And I just wanted to highlight just a couple of nuggets that I heard that I want to make sure did not pass you by in the presentation. And that is CEO Johnson made a comment that we have realized $600 million in savings. And as CFO Potter mentioned, we have paid off our unfunded pension liabilities. Again, we're in a great position. We have a high-level look at this, and there will be a lot of work going forward in taking this vision and this planning further. With that, this does not require any action at this time, and we have heard from all directors. So thank you all for your comments. And the next item on our agenda is public comments, and we have no further public comments. So I will ask CEO Johnson if he has a report, CEO report.
No, I don't, Madam Chair, but thank you for the board's input on that item. Greatly appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. And now directors' reports and new business. I would just like to encourage board members again. I know I've mentioned this in the past, but some board members are still receiving the binder with the agenda and the packet in it, and that's great. If you like the binder and the agenda, that is super. But if you are interested, for instance, I received the agenda and the packet electronically, and I forward it to iAnnotate on my iPad, so I have everything right here in my little black box. And it's efficient, it's easy, it's a cost savings for the agency, and it's also just a step in efficiency. So if you're interested in discontinuing your agenda delivery, your packet delivery, let us know, let the clerk know, or Mr. Johnson, and we can do that. And I will ask the other chair, Chair Wong, do you have anything at this moment?
I want to thank everyone for their comments. I also took a lot of notes, and I really appreciate the thought that everybody had put into considering what we can do with this agency, both boards and especially San Juan's concern that their views are or their strategic plan should be different, so our different vision. So I really appreciate that and look forward to working with all of you on the future of this agency. And that's conclusion of my remarks.
Thank you. Then we will now move to adjournment, and the next regularly scheduled meeting of our boards of directors will be held on March 11th, 2021 at 9:30 a.m. and the meeting is adjourned.